Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Former President Trump's classified documents trial postponed indefinitely. A judge reveals she has 8 months to rule, motions to rule on, including what she says are extensive discovery issues.
Police scuffle with protesters at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. Mayor Eric Adams offers his own money to catch vandals who desecrated a war monument. The latest on anti-Israel protests.
Trees snapped like twigs, mangled mobile homes, and wrecked vehicles. Midwest twisters continue to wreak havoc.
Senator Mike Braun wins the Republican nomination in the Indiana gubernatorial race, and Congresswoman Victoria Spartz defeats several GOP challengers. More on the Indiana primary results.
A House panel accuses the Biden administration of using taxpayer money to favor President Biden's campaign in a battleground state. Lawmakers subpoena 2 administration officials over a deal made in Michigan.
What's the financial cost of the border crisis? We'll take you to a House Budget Committee hearing aimed at answering just that.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
We begin with former President Trump's ongoing legal battles. A judge in the classified documents case has set new deadlines with new pretrial dates in July.
Judge Eileen Cannon did not set a new trial date. She said it would be premature, with many issues to still be resolved.
The judge revealed yesterday there are 8 motions to rule on, with 2 not publicly docketed. She also says there are extensive discovery issues. She told both parties to submit an update on discovery at the end of the month.
Judge Cannon also scheduled several major hearings, including one on a motion to dismiss charges. She set a hearing for mid-June on whether special counsel Jack Smith's appointment was lawful.
The judge set a July 22nd status conference. She will likely set a trial date after that.
Federal prosecutors have charged Trump with 40 counts of allegedly mishandling classified information. Trump has pleaded not guilty.
And Trump was in court for another day of testimony, the judge denying his request for a mistrial after Stormy Daniels took the stand.
The defense says her testimony was different from the story she told in 2016. Our legal correspondent Arlene Richards has more.
A key witness for the prosecution takes the stand on Tuesday. Stormy Daniels, also known as Stephanie Clifford, is the former adult film actress who says she had an affair with former President Trump. But her testimony about the affair, says the defense, is different from the 2016 story Trump is accused of buying. After the lunch break, Trump's attorneys asked for a mistrial, which the judge denied. The defense said she testified today about consent, about danger, and that's not the story she was peddling. The defense also said Daniels' testimony was highly prejudicial because it had nothing to do with the charges. Her testimony helps the prosecution show Trump had a desire to keep her quiet before the 2016 election. The prosecution said the story was not new. Prosecutor Susan Hoffinger saying, "At the end of the day, Your Honor, this is what the defendant was trying to hide in terms of the payoff in 2016 before the election." Judge Juan Merchan ultimately denied the call for a mistrial, acknowledging the testimony had problems, saying, "As a threshold matter, I agree, Mr. Blanche, that there were some things that probably would have been better left unsaid," but then admonishing the defense for not objecting enough. Daniels recounted how she first met Trump and said he later asked her out to dinner. The alleged affair, she says, happened after the dinner in Trump's penthouse suite at a hotel. Daniels began to provide intimate details of the encounter, but she stopped after the defense objected. She says she kept in touch with Trump afterwards because she wanted to get on his TV program, The Apprentice. As for that $130,000 hush money payment, Daniels testified that her publicist told her they should sell the story about the affair when she found out Trump was running for president. According to Daniels, she didn't care about the money at first. She just wanted to get the story out. But then she had a change of heart. On cross-examination, the defense questioned Daniels about tweets she posted about Trump going to jail and a defamation case she filed against Trump that was dismissed. Daniels' demeanor changed from relaxed to tense after the defense started questioning her. She testified that she hated Trump and that she wanted him to be held accountable, including going to jail if he is found guilty. Reporting from the criminal courthouse in Manhattan, Arlene Richards.
TikTok is suing the U.S. government over a new law that requires the Chinese-owned app to divest from its parent company ByteDance or face a ban in the U.S. The bipartisan law seeks to tackle national security concerns surrounding the company's ties with the Chinese regime. To discuss this, we're joined by Adam Savitt, director of the China Policy Initiative, America First Policy Institute. Welcome. Great to have you with us. To begin with, TikTok was always expected to push back on a forced sale. They've done that before. But now that they've filed this petition, Adam, tell us, what does this filing tell us about TikTok and how this is all going to take place?
It's rather stunning. What this tells us is that the CCP absolutely exerts control over TikTok because it says explicitly in the petition that part of the reason that they will not divest is because the Chinese government will not allow them. And that is on national security grounds and on the grounds that they don't want their algorithm to be exposed. They don't want us to see their secret sauce. They don't want us to see the algorithm that has been exploiting U.S. because that would expose their methods. And of course, also, they will generally use First Amendment grounds. But the issue here is not speech. The issue here is who controls the app. And we will not allow the CCP or other foreign adversaries to control the app and control user data. Now, of course, there's issues with Instagram and Facebook and other domestic companies scraping data and privacy concerns. Those are real, and those can be discussed on another day. But this is unique in the sense that the CCP ultimately has control of this data.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok itself said in yesterday's petition that the Chinese regime has made clear that it won't permit a divestment of ByteDance's algorithm. The government, the regime itself says that. So what does that tell us about the extent of the CCP's control over TikTok?
Well, first of all, by definition, have a national intelligence law. So that means that a CCP-based company ultimately can bridge government asked to give critical information about their business, about their users. This goes for any company, any organization within the Communist Party, within China. The Communist Party has ultimate control, totalitarian state. So private companies within China are not the way that we see in the United States. So TikTok's parent has ultra control that TikTok may be rated elsewhere.
Adam, I'm not hearing you too clearly there. I hope we can get a better connection. But I'm just going to head to the next question. You know, this suit could push the U.S. government to outline in a court of law specific ways that TikTok poses a credible threat. It looks pretty clear already this is a bipartisan issue, and their lawmakers are on board about this. So what more evidence does the U.S. government need to put forward and how strong is their argument, do you think, in a court of law?
Well, I'm not privy to any specific evidence they may have of surveillance or sabotage using TikTok, but there's certainly evidence that ByteDance, the parent company, has used TikTok data to spy on journalists who were providing unfavorable coverage to TikTok in the past. So that's one case. And they have so many multiple ways to exploit this technology. They are very good at data scraping, and their app actually, for example, can track keystrokes across apps. So let's say you have TikTok on your phone, you open your Outlook email and you start typing in there. TikTok is recording those strokes. So imagine a military officer, a politician, a high-placed business executive, their private emails or their private chats or those keystrokes can be garnered and can be leveraged by TikTok. And so just imagine the possibilities for blackmail, for sabotage, and for people who are currently serving in sensitive positions and also people who may end up there. This data is backlogged forever.
Okay, so just finally, considering the CCP's many methods of infiltration and obfuscation, could a clean cut from ByteDance and therefore from TikTok ever really be possible in your view?
I believe not. I mean, first of all, I don't think they would ever submit to it, but also it would be a very complicated maneuver to divest. It's a very expensive and highly valued company, so it would take a conglomeration of American or other financiers to acquire the company. But most importantly, sure, TikTok makes a lot of money for the CCP, but ultimately its value is as an intelligence and sabotage weapon, and they've made that clear in their statement. That they will not allow their algorithm to be seen. So no, they will happily take a financial hit and retain their intelligence tool. They will not likely divest.
All right. Thank you so much for your insights, Adam Savitt. Great to have you on.
Thanks a lot.
And anti-Israel protests continue across the U.S. with flare-ups occurring in New York, Washington, D.C., and California.
NTD's Daniel Monahan has more, including a special offer by New York City Mayor Eric Adams in the name of his uncle who died in Vietnam.
Police scuffled with protesters at the Fashion Institute of Technology on Tuesday.
5, 6, 7, 8.
One man who claimed to be a freelance journalist is arrested by police. He complains that they are removing his press badge. More protesters are arrested here at Manhattan's Union Square. Mayor Eric Adams spoke at the site of a World War I monument that was vandalized by anti-Israel protesters on Monday night.
We cannot remain silent when our symbols of freedom are desecrated by individuals who clearly hate our country and hate our way of life.
Adams called the perpetrators cowards and promised to make them pay.
Today, I'm announcing $5,000 of my personal money for the arrest and conviction of the people responsible for this act.
Adams is offering the money in the name of his 19-year-old Uncle Joe, who died in Vietnam. Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 reward on top of that. 3 people were arrested after a driver hit an anti-Israel protester on a Manhattan street Tuesday. 2 protesters got into an argument with the driver, who then allegedly crashed into one of them. The demonstrator was treated at a hospital for minor injuries. The driver, the demonstrator, and another demonstrator were taken into custody. Columbia Law School Dean Gillian Lester voiced support for graduates Tuesday after conservative judges announced they wouldn't hire them due to recent anti-Israel protests. Lester says Columbia Law grads are highly sought after by top employers, including the judiciary. This comes in response to a letter from 13 conservative federal judges stating they would cease hiring graduates from Columbia starting this year to help restore academic freedom to the institution. In Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, a large group of anti-Israel demonstrators marched towards the residence of George Washington University President Ellen Granberg. Here they accuse Granberg of supporting genocide, seen on Fox News. Over in California, demonstrators at the University of California, Berkeley, protested Israel's recent decision to reject a ceasefire with Hamas. Israel says the proposal approved by Hamas was unacceptable because terms had been softened. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Next, we're learning more about a shipment of ammunition from the U.S. to Israel that was paused last week.
The shipment includes 1,800 bombs weighing 2,000 pounds and 1,700 bombs weighing 500 pounds.
According to media reports citing a U.S. official, the U.S. is concerned the bombs will be used in Rafah. The official said the impact of the 2,000-pound bombs is the biggest concern, especially in a densely populated area.
Israeli leaders have warned for weeks that an invasion of Rafah will occur at some point in the future. This week, Israel told more than 1 million civilians sheltering there to evacuate. The U.S. and others are against such a ground operation.
Coming up, President Biden is making a 4th trip to swing state Wisconsin. He's set to meet black voters while announcing plans for a new Microsoft facility.
And explosives are coming to the Baltimore bridge cleanup. The cargo ship is still stuck under bridge remains with the crew aboard. More on the dramatic plan in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
Shen Yun Creations, the streaming platform from Shen Yun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Presenting the heritage of traditional Chinese martial arts, fostering martial ethics, and reviving the true tradition. The preliminaries for the 2024 NTD International Traditional Martial Arts Competition will be held across New York, Taiwan, and Germany. The grand finals will be broadcast live online worldwide in August 2024. For more information, please call 1-888-477-9228.
Join us on NTD Good Morning because we want you to stay informed.
Kickstart your morning with the latest you missed overnight.
Right, and don't forget that inspiration.
Absolutely, so let's shine some light on the good news too.
Tune in every weekday morning to NTD News.
Thanks for staying with us. Severe storms continue to barrel through the Midwest. Forecasters warn the curtain of heavy rain, gusty winds, and tornadoes could spill out of the region.
Several twisters swept across southern Michigan yesterday, leaving behind a trail of destruction in this mobile home park.
A FedEx facility in Michigan was also damaged. A jumble of twisted metal and mangled vehicles can be seen in the storm's wake.
This video from inside an office building showing massive debris swirling outside the window.
The Michigan twisters snapped trees like twigs, scattering debris and damaging homes.
Today, President Biden is making a campaign stop in the battleground state of Wisconsin. He's planning specifically to speak with Black voters.
In 2020, Biden carried the state by just 21,000 votes, thanks to turnout in Madison and the suburbs. The turnout in Milwaukee's majority Black precincts was lower.
This is Biden's fourth trip to Wisconsin this year. While there, the president is also expected to announce a new artificial intelligence facility in Racine. Microsoft is investing $3.3 billion in that project. And a House panel is accusing the Biden administration of using taxpayer money to help President Biden win a key battleground state. The House Committee on Small Business sent subpoenas to 2 administration officials yesterday. The committee is investigating the Small Business Administration, or SBA, and a first-of-its-kind voter registration agreement in Michigan.
The GOP-led House panel says the deal with Michigan's Department of State could favor Democrats over Republicans. The deal made in March has Michigan officials collaborate with the SBA to drive online visitors to register to vote. It also lets Michigan officials use the SBA's Michigan field office for in-person voter registration.
The SBA is also encouraging voter registration nationwide. And looking at results from Indiana's primaries, Senator Mike Braun wins the Republican nomination in the governor's race. Democratic nominee Jennifer McCormick was unopposed.
Braun chose to run for the open governor's seat instead of a second term in the Senate. He beat 5 GOP contenders looking to replace Republican Governor Eric Holcomb.
Congresswoman Victoria Spartz will run to serve another term after defeating several GOP challengers. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on Indiana's primary results.
We have the false choice.
Indiana Representative Victoria Spartz is projected to win the GOP primary for her 5th district seat. The Ukrainian-born Congresswoman first won the seat in 2020. Spartz faced 8 challengers Tuesday night after deciding to seek re-election. Competition included State Representative Chuck Goodrich, a businessman who outspent Spartz. Spartz was an early advocate for U.S. support for Ukraine, but she voted against the $95 billion foreign aid package with $61 billion for Ukraine last month. Goodrich aired television ads accusing Spartz of putting Ukraine first. Democratic nominee Deborah Pickett will challenge Spartz for her seat. Meanwhile, in the race for Indiana's next governor, Senator Mike Braun bested 5 GOP competitors to win the Republican primary, including incumbent Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. Braun is seeking to replace term-limited Republican Governor Eric Holcomb. Indiana has had a Republican governor since 2004. Braun will face Democratic nominee Jennifer McCormick in the November general election. McCormick, a former Republican, changed parties in 2021. Libertarian nominee Donald Rainwater and Independent Christopher Street have also thrown their hats in the ring. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is holding off on her threat to try to remove Speaker Mike Johnson. Greene met with Johnson yesterday for the second time in 2 days.
I think Mike Johnson has an opportunity right now to be our Republican Speaker of the House. I've been patient. I'm not being reckless with this. I'm being very careful, and we'll see what happens.
Greene had threatened to force a vote on a motion to vacate this week. The Georgia Congresswoman wants Johnson to bring back the so-called Hastert rule. The rule requires support from the majority of the party to bring a bill to a vote.
She also wants to stop funding for Ukraine and special counsel investigations. Greene says Johnson should pass a continuing resolution with a 1% spending cut ahead of the November general election.
Speaker Johnson says his talks with Greene were not a negotiation. And there are 2 new separate cases of U.S. citizens being detained in Russia, including a U.S. soldier arrested on suspicion of theft. The White House said Tuesday that an American was arrested in Russia and sentenced to 10 days in jail for petty hooliganism.
A Moscow court named the man as William Russell Nycum, saying he drank alcohol and was found in a courtyard nude and, quote, expressing clear disrespect for society.
White House officials continue to urge U.S. citizens not to visit the country.
The State Department has been very clear about this, and we will continue to say U.S. citizens residing or traveling in Russia should depart immediately. As stated in our travel advisory for Russia, and U.S. citizens should not travel to Russia at this time.
Meanwhile, a Russian court charged U.S. soldier Gordon Black with theft. He's being detained until July 2nd. The Russian Interior Ministry said yesterday a woman filed a complaint against the soldier.
The court said the 2 men in South Korea, the American came to Vladivostok to visit her. They allegedly had an argument, and she later filed a police report accusing Black of stealing money. He was arrested in a local hotel.
The Pentagon said yesterday that Black broke Army rules by traveling to Russia without authorization. He also did so after passing through China.
New Yorkers won't be voting on abortion access this November. A judge found that state lawmakers didn't follow procedural rules surrounding passing constitutional amendments.
Democrats passed the Equal Protection of Law Amendment last year. It would address discrimination based on, quote, pregnancy outcomes or gender expression. Its provisions are intended indirectly to protect access to abortion and cross-sex drugs and procedures.
The judge said the lawmakers incorrectly approved the amendment. They were supposed to first get a written opinion on the language from the state attorney general. AG Letitia James's office said it would appeal the decision.
The ruling is a setback for some Democrats who are hoping to spur voter turnout around abortion access. And the last missing body of a construction worker killed in the Baltimore bridge collapse has been recovered. Salvage divers found the body of Jose Minor Lopez yesterday at the scene of the bridge collapse.
The recovery comes more than a month after a cargo ship crashed into the bridge. The collapse that followed sent 8 construction workers into the Patapsco River, killing 6 of them.
All victims were Latino immigrants working an overnight shift filling potholes on the bridge.
Police were able to stop traffic moments before the collapse, but they didn't have enough time to alert the workers.
The container ship that crashed into the bridge in Baltimore is still stuck under part of the bridge structure. Now crews are preparing to use explosives to free it.
The crew of the Dolly is still on board the ship and will remain there even while the explosives are detonated. Maryland Governor Wes Moore said that this complies with the best historical practices.
Moore said that once the Francis Scott Key Bridge's steel structure is safely removed from the water, the ship will float again. The channel would also be able to reopen.
After 114 years, the Boy Scouts of America will change its name to Scouting America. The name change is meant to emphasize inclusion as the organization works to move past bankruptcy and a spate of sexual abuse claims.
The announcement yesterday came on the 5th anniversary of allowing girls into the Boys Only program. The name change will go into effect in February 2025 on the organization's 115th anniversary.
In 2017, it made the announcement that girls would be accepted in Cub Scout and Boy Scout programs. Over 6,000 girls have now achieved the vaunted Eagle Scout rank.
Reaction to the change on social media included criticism that the word boy will no longer appear in the name, including from Republican Senator Ted Cruz. And up next, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken discussing migration with representatives from 22 different countries. What they said, including about allowing more people to come legally.
And illegal immigration at the southern border costs U.S. taxpayers money. How much, though? A House committee aims to answer that question at a hearing today. More when we come back.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, ride your bike.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, smile big and bright.
Thousands of kids just like me are happy every day.
And it's all because of generous people like you who support Shriners Hospitals for Children every month.
All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go online to loveshriners.org right now with your monthly gift.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children is able to make an everyday miracle happen for kids like me.
If you're happy and you know it, dance around. If you're happy and you know it, play a song.
If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, take a shot.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Will today be the day you send your love to the rescue?
When you call the number on your screen right now and give as little as $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you'll be making a life-changing difference for a child, just like Sarah.
Your monthly gift today could change your life forever.
Because of you.
We are happy and we know it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away.
These are all farmers. Maybe
no,
not this
not
one.
a farm anymore.
But here is a farm, right?
No, there's also not a farm anymore.
All these people shut down because of the government policies?
Yeah.
The government wants to control the food. So we don't eat meat, but we eat insect.
As the price of staples goes through the roof, people will say, I can't afford a steak anymore. So, all right, I'll eat your stupid crickets.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is discussing migration with representatives from 22 countries. Blinken joined them at a conference in Guatemala yesterday.
We stepped up efforts against those preying on vulnerable migrants. In February, we announced a new visa restriction policy that targets individuals who knowingly provide transportation to those intending to migrate irregularly to the United States.
The conference had three main goals: to continue offering legal pathways to enter their countries, to provide aid to communities most affected by migration, and to coordinate their response to migration flows.
Blinken says progress has been made in all those areas, but he noted that people still migrate illegally. For example, through the Darien Gap and across the U.S.-Mexico border. Blinken says migrants should use legal pathways instead.
The crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border costs money. How much it costs is the subject of a House budget hearing today.
Committee Chairman Jody Arrington says America can't afford the border crisis given the current national debt level and spending rate. He says the U.S. is spending hundreds of billions of dollars at the border.
Let's tune into that hearing now.
All available paramedics were deployed to human smuggling events miles away and were unable to respond to the county resident. This is a clear example of how an open border policy has deadly consequences for Americans across this nation. The violence and lawlessness occurring on our border is not sustainable for any sovereign nation, let alone a Texas county comprised of 3,200 citizens. Make no mistake, the willful neglect of this administration's refusal to enforce the laws of our nation have compromised the safety and security of not only Texans, but every American. Texans should not have to bear the financial burden of securing the border while this administration actively undermines our efforts to protect our own citizens. However, we have a sacred duty to preserve those liberties we inherited from others who paid the ultimate price. Texans have never backed down from a fight, and we will not begin to do so now. Thank you.
Thank the gentleman from Texas, and now yield 5 minutes to Mr. Beer. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name earlier. Beer rolls off the tongue as a Texan a lot easier than Beyer, so it's Beer, right?
That's right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Beer, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Chairman Arrington, Ranking Member Boyle, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. For nearly half a century, the Cato Institute has produced original research showing that free markets and individual liberty make the United States a wealthier, safer, and freer country. In a free society, markets incentivize people to contribute to the welfare of others. Thanks to freedom, America isn't a fixed pie, it's a growing one. It is exactly for these reasons that so many people from around the world come here. And for these same reasons, we should let them come legally. America has never needed immigrant workers like it needs them now. Population growth is down 90% from its historic highs. America's 9 million open jobs are costing the U.S. economy more than $500 billion in economic output per year. And we need immigrants to fill them. The U.S. prime age employment rate is already at near record highs, and more Americans are retiring than entering the job market. As a result, 100% of labor force growth is now coming from immigrants. The Congressional Budget Office just found that the recent increase in immigration, almost entirely, unfortunately, from illegal immigration, will increase the size of the economy by $7 trillion, increase tax revenues by $1 trillion, and cut deficits by about $1 trillion over a decade. The National Academy of Sciences' seminal 2017 report on the fiscal effects of immigration on federal, state, and local finances found that immigrants reduce deficits both in the short and long term. Last year, Cato published a 250-page update of that report and found that immigrants pay $1 trillion in taxes, $300 billion more than they receive in benefits. Even low-skill immigrants who arrive early enough in their careers are fiscally positive in the long term. Studies that claim to find otherwise simply ignore most of the direct and indirect revenues that immigrants create. Of course, every immigrant is not always and everywhere fiscally positive, but the big picture is clear. Immigrants are makers, not takers. Congress should be exploring how to permit immigration in a lawful and orderly way to maximize these potential benefits. Unfortunately, America is benefiting from immigration in spite of Congress's dysfunctional legal immigration system, which was last updated in 1990. Backlogs and delays are now so extreme that literally in any other area of law, there'd be daily hearings and investigations about them. Just 3% of the applicants for legal permanent residence this year will be approved. Most of the people who are currently applying for legal permanent residence will die before they or their family members have the opportunity to immigrate legally. Our legal immigration system is mostly ignored here, but its message that the way to come is to come illegally is heard around the world. As long as we continue to proclaim this message, we will continue to incur some costs related to illegal entries. The only way to change the message is to change the law. That may be hard, but if we start with the accurate premise that these immigrants can be contributors, we can skip the contentious arguments over how to keep out everyone who's trying to come here and focus on the solvable issue of how they can come legally and contribute. Free Border Patrol to keep out real threats. Let people not be forced to hand over their life savings to cartels. Let them line up transportation, housing, and jobs in advance of their arrival. Let them come legally. And if you don't want them to have any welfare benefits, I'm fine with that. Fixing immigration only requires faith in America, in our markets, in our Constitution, in our freedom. And if you ever lack that faith, talk to those who are Americans by choice. Immigrants will tell you that they believe in America. We should listen. Thank you.
Mr. Beer, thank you for your comments. We're going to move to the Q&A portion, and I'm going to yield 5 minutes to start us off. And I just want to respond to some of your comments because I believe in free people, free markets, and free and sovereign states. Freedom without security is complete anarchy. Freedom without rule of law is chaos. And so there are things we can do, and I agree with you. There are places that are broken that should be fixed within the immigration framework in our laws, and there's no doubt there are ways to do that even on a bipartisan basis. But when the President of the United States in his first day repeals and rescinds Remain in Mexico and interior enforcement and holding sanctuary cities accountable for enabling illegal immigration, when that happens on day one and then 93 other executive actions within the first 100 days to unravel the programs that were effective in reducing illegal immigration and effectively securing our border, That looks like a willful and intentional act to create chaos. So yes, there are ways to fix the current system, but I can't accept the fact that the President of the United States, through this Section 212F, which is the broadest of authorities I know of, it says, if you, Mr. President, think this is in the interest of the United States to turn anyone around for any reason, you can do that.
Can I ask, where do we go from here?
Well, where we go,
where we reform the system, where do we go from here?
Where we start is to do that which we can with the authority and tools we have. And we saw very clearly in the last administration, where there's a will, there's a way. Doesn't mean it's perfect, doesn't mean there aren't things to fix, but you can't have, in the last month of the Trump administration, 1,000 a day, and then this last December, 10,000 a day of people coming across illegally. To your point, if people think they can come illegally, they will come. Just this week, President Biden and the administration rolled out a rule to give $9 billion worth of health care to people here illegally. You get what you reward. You're an expert on free markets. Incentives drive behavior. We are putting incentives out there intentionally that are creating this, and there's a cost to society, especially, and more so than the financial cost, all of the folks on the terrorist watch list, all of the drugs, all of the crime and criminals. We're not vetting this. It's pouring into our communities, and it's devastating. We need freedom, but we need rule of law alongside of it, or we lose the peace and tranquility we promise in the Constitution.
Well, we can have both, right? We can have both. We don't have to choose between security and a legal immigration system that works. We don't have to choose.
You're right.
They're compatible. In fact, they complement each other.
Yet
If we
they
have
do.
a legal immigration system that works, then there's going to be fewer people crossing, so Border Patrol's freed up to interdict people.
Do you think the president is doing everything he can to create order and law and at the border? And do you think he's doing everything within his power to make sure we have seamlessness at the border with respect to immigration? Do you think he's doing everything he can?
I mean,
A performance that truly matters. For each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. Coming to Lincoln Center, NJ-PAC, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Starting March 28th. Tickets at shenyun.com.
This is an important message from USA Family Protection. You may now be eligible for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day.
Mom, it's so great to see you.
Oh, you too, son. And I have to tell you, I've been thinking about the future, and it's really important to me that I don't leave you and your sister with my debts, especially the cost of my funeral and other final expenses, which can be more than $9,000.
Yeah, that would be really hard on us.
Well, I called USA Family Protection, and with one phone call, I was eligible for $50,000 for my funeral and final expenses.
But what about your health issues? Don't they require a medical exam?
That's the best part. There's no medical exam, just a few quick questions, and I was able to get coverage right over the phone. Plus, my rates can never be increased, my benefits can never be decreased, and my coverage can never be canceled.
That's really great, Mom. But can you afford it?
Yes, rates start at less than $1 a day, and when the time comes, payout to you and your sister happens in as little as a few days. I am so happy to know you two are taken care of.
Thanks, Mom. Me too.
Don't leave your loved ones with your debt. Call USA Family Protection at 800-760-6571 and get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam, just a few health questions, and you can be approved right over the phone. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. Call 800-760-6571. There's no hidden fees and no waiting periods to get covered. Call 800-760-6571. There's no obligation. Call 800-760-6571.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I'm Iris Tao at the White House, and we are NTD.
Welcome back. What's the true financial cost of the border crisis? We return now to our coverage of today's House Budget Committee hearing aimed at answering just that.
We'll hear testimony from various immigration think tanks. Committee Chairman Jody Arrington says America can't afford the border crisis given the current national debt level and spending rate.
Let's get back to that now.
Immigration's economic benefit to the country.
Yeah, so the FAIR report significantly understates the tax benefits, expenditures, contributions of immigrants. I mean, you look at the state tax revenues that they calculate, it's 37% below what's in the census current population survey data, understates their federal income tax by about 88%, understates their Medicare and Social Security taxes by 62%. The discrepancies are so enormous. You're left with the impression that they're just inventing them, just like they invent the number of illegal immigrants in their study. They say they're 15.5 million. They just invented that number, and then so they can't use any of the available census data. FAIR counts the expenditures on education for US-born children, for example, minor children, excludes all of the tax payments from the adult children of immigrants in the United States. Doing that alone cuts the total number of tax payments in half, which they've already reduced by about 2/3. And they completely ignore tax incidents or taxes that are indirectly the result of immigrants. So they have zero tax incidents for corporate taxes that are paid by corporations who hire these workers. They have zero capital income taxes that they attribute to immigrants' work in the United States. Research has shown that those changes just by themselves can turn a low-skilled immigrant from dramatically negative to fiscally positive if they arrive early enough in their career.
Well, thank you. And building off of that, I would point out, something directly relevant to this committee, the Budget Committee. We had an important set of economic data or report released on Monday from the trustees of Social Security and Medicare trust funds. And we got tremendously good news because of this economy performing much better than was projected a year ago or a couple of years ago. The lifetime of the trust funds for Social Security and Medicare have been pushed out. That is good news that we all should cheer. I was wondering, given this is a hearing on immigration, what impact does immigration and immigrants have on Social Security and Medicare trust funds?
Well, the Social Security Trust Fund report directly says it. It's a result of increased labor force, and the increased labor force results in more tax revenue to Social Security. The report says that basically increasing from 829,000 to 1.7 million immigrants per year reduces the annual burden of Social Security by 1.5% of taxable payroll over by 2097, which is about $137 billion in today's terms. So very significant impact on Social Security revenues in the long term.
Yeah, and then finally, I wasn't planning on asking this, but since we had a good back and forth, and you had a good back and forth with the chairman, And I'm going off memory here, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But my memory of this becoming a really, I mean, of course, immigration's always been a hot button issue at different peaks in American history. It was the race riots, the anti-Catholic Know-Nothing riots of the 1840s happened in my district. They were so deadly, that's what led to the creation of the Philadelphia Police Department, because of just how widespread and deadly they were. So this has been an ongoing story throughout American history. But I really remember in my lifetime, the question on the southern border rising to a certain prominence right around 2005. That was when George W. Bush was working with John McCain and Senator Kennedy. You had a surge in crossings. Then you've had different drops, but increases. And then obviously we have an enormous challenge now. So if you could just walk me through kind of the last 20 years, my recollection of this correct? I mean, this has been a multi-decade issue that unfortunately does continue to get worse.
Look, the big difference between then and now is who's arriving. So Mexicans were arriving. You had about 2 million crossings in the border in the year 2000, but half of the people made it through. They made it across the border. This is according to estimates by the Department of Homeland Security. So the big difference now is more people turn themselves in. They're from countries that are very difficult to deport to, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, et cetera. Even the Northern Triangle countries are far more difficult to deport to than Mexico. So you had far more evasions in the early 2000s. Now you have more people seeking asylum. But the magnitude is nothing new to Border Patrol. We actually had more overwhelmed Border Patrol agents in the 2000s when you had the number of arrests exceeding 3 per day per Border Patrol agent, which is, totally unheard of today with 20,000 agents.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank the ranking member. Now yield to Mr. McClintock from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I need to begin by noting the Democrats' habit of discussing legal and illegal immigrants as if they were the same. That is a supreme insult to the millions of legal immigrants who enter our country every year by obeying our laws. Legal immigrants come here pledged to pull their weight, not to be a burden on others, to obey our laws, and to love and defend our country. Illegal immigrants come here under very different circumstances. Their first act is to commit a federal crime by illegally entering our country. Their second act is to demand free food, shelter, medical care, clothing, education, transportation, and legal services. I've watched them at the border taunting our Border Patrol as they illegally cross into our country. To equate their lawless behavior with law-abiding, hard-working, and patriotic legal immigrants is outrageous, and my colleagues who do so should be ashamed of themselves. The Senate bill that we heard the ranking member tout would make it impossible for a future president to use his existing authority to secure the border, as Trump did, until illegal crossings exceed 4,000 a day. And as Border Patrol agents tell us, the problem is not lack of laws, it's a deliberate decision by the Democrats not to enforce those laws. Now, the Democrats tell us, well, this is great for the economy, since the more people in the economy, the larger it is. Well, duh. But as the CBO director testified to this committee earlier this year, the economic impact on working Americans is catastrophic because it suppresses wages for unskilled and low-skilled American workers, and it breeds an underground economy that further suppresses the competitiveness of American workers. So working Americans see their wages stagnate as a result, and many are forced out of the labor market entirely. Ms. Kirchner, how do we help working Americans by flooding the labor market with cheap, illegal labor?
We don't help them at all. And actually, if we wanted to be kind to their previous generations of immigrants, we would not flood the market with cheap labor. There is ample evidence that it depresses wages.
And the CBO director actually confirmed that right here before this committee. You estimated the net cost to U.S. taxpayers to be $150 billion to support these illegals after deducting what little tax they pay. That includes $70 billion in costs to our schools, does it not?
Yes, sir.
And $22 billion for medical care?
Yes, sir.
What do you think the Democrats would say if Republicans proposed cutting $70 billion out of our schools and $22 billion out of our hospitals? And yet, isn't that exactly what they're doing?
Well, I wouldn't propose to put words in anyone's mouth, but I do think that illegal immigration has consequences, and we need to accept that as a nation, and we need to make good policy decisions, and that means understanding the real impact of what's going on and the costs that are associated, not just the economic benefits, as you said, of growing the greater economic pie, the GDP measuring alone, and everything is made up of choices. And if you look,
and your estimate of cost is just direct cost of the government. It's not the cost of crimes committed by illegals.
Exactly.
It's not the cost of wage reductions for working Americans.
Exactly.
It's strictly
it's a
the direct
snapshot
cost
of payments and revenues.
The Democrats tell us that illegal immigrants are more law-abiding than Americans. Mr. Smith, are the illegals entering your county more law-abiding than your legal residents?
Well, I can tell you from the numbers that I quoted earlier, of those thousands of cases, we have about 50 county residents being prosecuted. The remaining is the result of an open border. And I would just add that, there is a difference.
I've got to go on. Ms. Kirchner, did you not look at the SCAPE requests made by states for the cost of incarcerating illegals and conclude that illegals are 231% more likely to be jailed for crimes in California, 440% more likely in New Jersey, and 60% more likely in Texas?
I have not looked at the recent data, but I know, and certainly in California, it's very high.
In fact, in some states like California, they make it illegal to report immigration status of suspects. So using Cato's methodology, illegal aliens never commit a crime in California.
Yes.
For round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
And stay with us. We'll bring you more news in the next 2 hours.
A faith rich in beauty and tradition, uplifting the mind and body, persevering through decades of persecution. Watch our special coverage of the 2024 World Falun Dafa Day Parade live from New York City, starting 11 a.m. Eastern Time, here on NTD.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
I grew up in poverty, and I actually became physically homeless right after I turned 16.
I didn't have anywhere to sleep, and I didn't really have friends or family that could support me.
To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life.
Without the Covenant House, I honestly could not tell you where I would be today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I would not be here today if it weren't for the kindness of strangers, people who donated to Covenant House so that they could support me when I couldn't support myself.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible.
Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month.
Do you know that Cars for Compassion is the best way to donate your car? Through this non-profit program, you can not only help us keep bringing the world independent and daringly truthful journalism, but also significantly impact the life of somebody who needs a vehicle. The Epoch Times fights misinformation and big tech censorship by being independent and unbound to advertisers. Every single contribution to Cars for Compassion is a powerful endorsement of our unwavering mission. All you have to do is go to carsforcompassion.org and let us know about your car, and we'll schedule a pickup time and email you a tax-deductible receipt. To do this, just click the link below. Support truth, compassion, and hope. Donate your car right now at www.carsforcompassion.org.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
A Georgia appeals court agrees to consider whether to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. We have a statement from former President Trump's lawyer.
Adult film actress Stormy Daniels gave detailed testimony of her alleged encounter with former President Trump yesterday. What impact will this have on the case?
Antisemitism appears to be rising in K-12 schools in the U.S. after Hamas's terror attack on Israel. Lawmakers seeking answers and accountability.
How could the anti-Israel protests on college campuses affect the presidential election cycle? We speak with a Republican strategist.
The U.S. revokes licenses for companies sending microchips to sanctioned Chinese companies like Huawei. This amidst rising fears of Chinese espionage.
And a pro-democracy song is now banned in Hong Kong at Beijing's request. What it means for free speech and for Google.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Today, President Biden is making a campaign stop in the battleground state of Wisconsin.
He's planning specifically to speak with black voters. In 2020, Biden carried the state by just 21,000 votes thanks to turnout in Madison and the suburbs. The turnout in Milwaukee's majority black precinct was lower.
This is Biden's fourth trip to Wisconsin this year. While there, the president is also expected to announce a new artificial intelligence facility in Racine. Microsoft is investing $3.3 billion in that project. And we have some breaking news. Georgia's appeals court has agreed to hear former President Trump's bid to disqualify Fulton County DA Fani Willis. Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee previously allowed Willis to continue prosecuting Trump after Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade resigned.
Trump and 8 of his co-defendants in the Georgia RICO case have urged the appeals court to overturn McAfee's ruling.
Trump's lawyer said Trump looks forward to arguing why the case should be dismissed and why DA Willis should be disqualified.
The court's decision to hear the appeal before trial could cause further delays in the case. The losing side could still appeal the appeals court decision to the Georgia Supreme Court. More on former President Trump's ongoing legal battles. The judge in the classified documents case has set new deadlines with new pre-trial dates in July. Judge Eileen Cannon did not set a new trial date. She said it would be premature with many issues to still be resolved.
The judge revealed yesterday there are 8 motions to rule on, with 2 not publicly docketed. She also says there are extensive discovery issues. She told both parties to submit an update on discovery at the end of the month.
Judge Cannon also scheduled several major hearings, including one on a motion to dismiss charges. She set a hearing for mid-June on whether special counsel Jack Smith's appointment was lawful.
The judge set a July 22nd status conference. She'll likely set a trial date after that.
Federal prosecutors have charged Trump with 40 counts for illegally mishandling classified information. Trump has pleaded not guilty. Here to discuss the Stormy Daniels testimony is John Malcolm, VP of the Heritage Foundation's Institute for Constitutional Government and Director of the Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. Thank you so much for your time today, John. What were some of the key takeaways from Ms. Daniels' testimony?
It was certainly salacious. It's still ongoing. She's being cross-examined by Susan Nichols, one of Trump's attorneys. That will continue on Thursday because the judge takes a day off on Wednesday to deal with other matters. I wasn't in the courtroom, but apparently, she told a compelling story about growing up in poverty before turning to erotic dancing and then becoming a pornographic film actress. But she was obviously nervous. She told a bunch of jokes that apparently no one laughed at. But she's eminently attackable. She has changed her story on any number of occasions. She talked in really too much detail. Judge Merchan certainly agreed with that, about this sexual encounter that allegedly happened in 2006. Donald Trump, of course, denies this. And Stormy Daniels has on other occasions denied that she had an affair with Donald Trump. She said she didn't really care about the money, but she was shown lots of communications in which it was quite clear that she did care about the money that she received from him. She claimed she was humiliated by this experience, yet she stayed in touch with him for several years and in hopes of getting on The Apprentice. She's admitted that she hates Donald Trump and hopes that he goes to jail. She hasn't paid over $500,000 that a court has ordered her to pay for a frivolous defamation lawsuit that she filed against him. So her credibility is subject to a lot of question. But in terms of getting out, the fact that there is this claim that she had this one-night stand with Donald Trump, that story is now before the jury in rather nauseating detail.
Now, John, Trump attorney Todd Blanche moved for a mistrial after Daniels' testimony. Why? Right. And why was that request shot down?
Well, he had moved ahead of time to try to limit Stormy Daniels' testimony, and the judge apparently went along with that. The prosecutors kind of blew through those limits, and Stormy Daniels testified well beyond the limits in terms of how much detail she was supposed to go into. She talked about what kind of clothes he was wearing, and she said he didn't wear a condom, and he was what kinds of things he had in his bathroom. At one point, even the judge said, "Look, you're going into too much detail. Stop this." Then Todd Blanche moved for a mistrial, and the judge said, "Look, you should have been objecting to all of these questions while they were occurring. You didn't. Therefore, I let her answer most of these questions. But I'm going to deny that motion, one, because you didn't make those objections at the time, and two, I will give a limiting instruction to the jury to try to put her testimony in proper context." His argument is that this was very salacious, very prejudicial, totally beyond what the judge had said that she could do, and that you cannot, quote unquote, unring a bell once it has been rung. So we'll see how things proceed once Susan Nichols finishes her cross-examination. But this may raise an issue on appeal if Donald Trump is in fact convicted of these crimes.
Now, during this trial, cross-examination of Daniels, she said that she hated Trump and she wanted him held accountable. What's the purpose of eliciting that kind of admission?
Oh, to show bias, to show that she would say anything, but she can't stand this guy, and would lie in order to see to it that he is incarcerated. I don't think there's any question that there is no love lost between Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels, and that is just one of the reasons why she's been attacked. I mean, Susan Nichols has said basically, look, you were creating a false claim. You changed your story 4 million times. You were really just trying to extort money from the former president, weren't you? And of course, she denies that. But if she claims that, anytime you're going to hate somebody in the jurors' eyes, that means you could be lying about them because you hate them.
And John, just in closing, you touched on this briefly, but what can we expect in the testimony on Thursday with Stormy Daniels?
They're going to be continuing. Susan Nichols is going to continue to hammer away at inconsistencies in her story. She's pointed out several. She said, look, you said that you wanted to get this story out because you had been threatened, but then you sold the story to Donald Trump with the understanding that it would not get out. You say that you were threatened by a Trump supporter, you and your daughter, but you never said anything to your husband at the time. She's doing a very effective job, from what I can tell, of hammering at some of these inconsistencies, and that hammering is going to continue on Thursday. And then the prosecutor will try to bolster her through redirect, and we'll see how good a job she does.
All right, John Malcolm, VP of Heritage Institute for Constitutional Government and Director of the Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. Thank you again for your time.
My pleasure.
And we turn now to updates on the Israel-Hamas war.
The U.S. has paused an arms shipment to Israel amid concerns over the Rafah operation.
A Biden administration official said the U.S. held up a shipment of over 3,000 bombs to Israel last week. This is over concerns that they may be used in the Rafah operation, which the U.S. opposes.
The official said the 2,000-pound bombs could have an impact in dense urban settings. The Israeli military responded saying, quote, "When there are disputes, and they are being resolved behind closed doors in a matter-of-fact way."
This comes as CIA Director Bill Burns met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss ceasefire and hostage negotiations.
Inside Gaza, the UN says roughly 50,000 people have evacuated from Rafah, and the Karim Shalom border crossing between southern Gaza and Israel has reopened to allow humanitarian aid.
Anti-Israel protests continue across the U.S. with flare-ups occurring in New York, Washington, D.C., and California.
NTD's Daniel Monahan has more, including a special offer by New York City Mayor Eric Adams in the name of his 19-year-old uncle who was killed in Vietnam.
Police scuffled with protesters at the Fashion Institute of Technology on Tuesday.
5, 6, 7, 8.
One man who claimed to be a freelance journalist is arrested by police. He complains that they are removing his press badge. More protesters are arrested here at Manhattan's Union Square. Mayor Eric Adams spoke at the site of a World War I monument that was vandalized by anti-Israel protesters on Monday night.
We cannot remain silent when our symbols of freedom are desecrated by individuals who clearly hate our country and hate our way of life.
Adams called the perpetrators cowards and promised to make them pay.
Today, I'm announcing $5,000 of my personal money for the arrest and conviction of the people responsible for this act.
Adams is offering the money in the name of his 19-year-old Uncle Joe, who died in Vietnam. Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 reward on top of that. 3 people were arrested after a driver hit an anti-Israel protester on a Manhattan street Tuesday. 2 protesters got into an argument with the driver, who then allegedly crashed into one of them. The demonstrator was treated at a hospital for minor injuries. The driver, the demonstrator, and another demonstrator were taken into custody. Columbia Law School Dean Gillian Lester voiced support for graduates Tuesday after conservative judges announced they wouldn't hire them due to recent anti-Israel protests. Lester says Columbia law grads are highly sought after by top employers, including the judiciary. This comes in response to a letter from 13 conservative federal judges stating they would cease hiring graduates from Columbia starting this year to help restore academic freedom to the institution. In Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, a large group of anti-Israel demonstrators marched towards the residence of George Washington University President Ellen Granberg. Here they accuse Granberg of supporting genocide, seen on Fox News. Over in California, demonstrators at the University of California, Berkeley, protested Israel's recent decision to reject a ceasefire with Hamas. Israel says the proposal approved by Hamas was unacceptable because terms had been softened. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Coming up, how could the anti-Israel protests on college campuses affect the presidential election cycle? We speak with a Republican strategist.
And the leaders of 3 school districts testify before Congress about their handling of anti-Semitic incidents after K-12 schools saw an increase following the Israel-Hamas war. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
A friend of mine, she told me about Blinken. He was the only one to address all 4 deaths as quickly as possible. And if you're to that point where you can't take it anymore, like I was, do your research, find out who the best is, and get it done.
Visit AskBlinken.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
Looking for a healthy and smooth-tasting brew? Drop by Days Coffee Roasters today and explore our wide selection of specialty-grade, small-batch roasted coffee. Home to North America's first enzyme-fermented coffee, we source a wide selection of specialty-grade coffee beans from around the world, and our baristas are ready to craft your customized brew. Visit Days Coffee at 28 North Street, Middletown, New York. Come experience a brew like no other.
Join us on NTD Good Morning because we want you to stay informed.
Kickstart your morning with the latest you missed overnight.
Right, and don't forget that inspiration.
Absolutely, so let's shine some light on the good news too.
Tune in every weekday morning to NTD News.
Welcome back. Election year protests can have a big impact on the vote, from the George Floyd protests in 2020 to the anti-Israel protests now. For more on the potential political fallout of the recent campus unrest, we're joined by Jason Meister, political commentator and former Trump Advisory Board member. Jason Meister, thank you so much for joining us. As a Republican strategist watching the presidential race pretty closely, I'm sure, what effect could these protests have on the election results this year?
I think it's going to have a huge impact and backfiring on the Democrat Party, because you have to understand who's taking over these college campuses and universities are a largely decentralized group of agitators that are both politically and financially supported by a vast web of progressive nonprofits, NGOs, foundations, and dark money groups that are backed by big money donors aligned with the Democratic Party. If you think about what you're seeing unfold on these college campuses and universities, it is very similar to what unfolded in American cities in the summer of 2020, the summer of quote unquote love, in the name of Black lives and George Floyd. What you're seeing on these college campuses and universities is very similar. It's not so much about Israel and Palestine as it is anti-white, anti-America, and anti-capitalist. If you look at some of these protesters, They don't even know how to spell Palestine. At Columbia University, I saw some images come out. They're spelling Palestine wrong. You see some of these interviews of students that are joining the protests, and they couldn't even point to Gaza on a map. Same thing happened in 2020 in the name of Black Lives, when people were posting Instagram black boxes in the name of Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. Very similar comparison.
Now, a significant number of these protesters are not affiliated with the schools that they're protesting at. Who are these people?
Yeah, there's a large group. If you look at some of the arrests, nearly 50% of the arrests to date aren't even students on these campuses, on these college campuses and universities. What you're seeing is this, like I said earlier, a vast web of dark money, nonprofits, NGOs, foundations that are being backed by big money donors like George Soros, Pritzker, and Rockefeller, and they're funding this. It's a Marxist movement. It's a Marxist revolution against America, against white people, against capitalism, because you have to understand, they're looking at through the lens of the oppressor versus the oppressed, the colonizer versus the colonized, and they see Israel as the wealthy white oppressor of the dark-skinned Palestinians. That's why these students who have been brainwashed for generations at these higher education institutions are joining this cause, because that's how they see the Israel movement and the Palestine movement.
Now, Jason, you've noted that over the election cycles in the past few years, there's been, this sort of pattern of protests. Why do you think that is?
Look, there's nothing that gets people out to vote than passionate issues. And if they can motivate their base, then they can get people out to vote. And I think what you're seeing here is them priming their Hamas base, their radical left base, against America. That's going to drive people to vote. I think it's actually going to backfire magnificently on the Democrats, because now Joe Biden is in power, and you're seeing these images of George Washington statues being destroyed with these Palestinian flags. You see that these campuses are so anti-America. I think that's going to backfire among moderate Democrats and independents. I mean, the idea that they're canceling graduations for people like at Columbia University who spent the last few years, educating themselves, and now they're going to just cancel. I think it's going to have a backfiring impact.
All right, Jason Meister, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
And school district leaders are answering questions before lawmakers this morning about their handling of anti-Semitism. That's after K-12 schools saw an increase in incidents following the Hamas attack on Israel last October.
Let's watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Welcome to your nation's capital. The subcommittee on early childhood, elementary, and secondary education will come to order. A quorum is present. Without objection, the chair is authorized to call a recess at any time. The Holocaust ended in 1945. The hate behind it has not. Anti-Semitism is repugnant in all its forms, but the topic of today's hearing is particularly troubling. It's hard to grasp how anti-Semitism has become such a dominant force in our K-12 schools. Some kids as young as second grade are spewing Nazi propaganda, which begs the question, who has positioned these young minds to attack the Jewish people? The very need for this hearing is a travesty. The aftermath of October 7th has revealed some of the ugliest, most deprived ideas once marginalized from polite society, and our education system has failed to stop it. It's not just anti-Israel, it's anti-American, it's anti-democracy. Our witnesses today three of our witnesses represent some of the largest school districts in the nation where there's been some vile anti-Semitism in their districts. Just a few minutes ago, we heard from students, parents, and even a teacher who said this is happening without an appropriate or any response at all. Jewish students in their districts fear riding the bus, wearing their kippah to school, or just eating and breathing as a Jewish student. Today, we get to hear from the leaders of these districts to tell us, what are you doing? What are they doing to keep students safe? New York City, and I just met Mr. Banks, is the home to the largest, most vibrant Jewish community in the nation. So the stories coming out of the New York City public schools are harrowing. Reports that we have surfaced that students marched through the halls, disrupting class, chanting, "Kill the Jews." One student was caught on a security camera appearing as Hitler and performing a Nazi salute. 3 swastikas were drawn on teachers' walls in 1 week. Anti-Semitism has occurred within Montgomery County public schools, and it hits close to home. It's just 15 miles from here. MCPS schools have been home to student walkouts featuring calls to kill the Jews, bring Hitler back, and what's worse, the administrators approved excused absences for the walkouts in violation of district policy. And finally, Berkeley, Unified School District, was thrust into the national spotlight in perhaps the most public fashion of the group. The allegations are most serious. While not exhaustive, the details of the piece includes kids playing Nazi salute songs to their Jewish classmates, chants of "Kill Israel" and KKK, and telling Jews to pick up pennies. In light of these reports, I'll tell you what my question is going to be to our witnesses. What are you doing to keep students safe? And how can we stop this? How can we stop this? You've been accused of doing nothing and turning a blind eye. We're going to give you a chance to say exactly what you're doing and what are you doing to keep students safe. Middle and high school students are hard enough. It's just hard enough being a kid in middle and high school without the added fear of being Jewish. I can hardly fathom sending one of my sons to school knowing he'll be exposed to vile, hate-filled discrimination, yet parents are faced every day with this struggle. It doesn't have to be this way. This is the moment for all of us to take a stand against hate, against the indoctrination and radicalization of the next generation of future leaders. With that, I yield to the ranking member for her opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. There is no question that we must do more to combat anti-Semitism, not just in schools, but everywhere. We must do more to protect Jewish students and Jewish Americans who are threatened and harassed and attacked because of who they are. Every student deserves to feel safe and be safe at school. At the same time, we must do more to address the rise in Islamophobia and other forms of discrimination and hate as well. I have said multiple times, I hope this committee can work together on constructive ways to address the scourge of anti-Semitism. And I will express that hope again today, that we seek solutions that recognize the seriousness and scope of the challenge, the importance of keeping students safe at school, and the need to balance the civil rights of students to be free from discrimination under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act with the First Amendment right to free speech and expression. This is the Education Committee, and I hope we will discuss the important role of education and, importantly, prevention. In fact, at the top of the list on the Biden administration's U.S. national strategy to combat anti-Semitism is to increase school-based education about anti-Semitism, including the Holocaust and Jewish American heritage. Anti-Semitism is not a new problem. The ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, has been working on it for decades, and in fact, they even have a Center for Anti-Semitism Research. AJC, the American Jewish Committee, has an action plan with a toolkit for public school administrators. Lesson plans and other teaching materials are widely available through organizations like the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. Like New York and several other states, my home state of Oregon requires Holocaust and genocide studies with age-appropriate curriculum available. I remember and thank my late friend, Holocaust survivor Alter Wiener, who when he was in his 80s and early 90s told his story of survival to hundreds of audiences in universities, colleges, middle schools and high schools, places of worship, prisons and clubs, personally and through his book, From a Name to a Number. That's the kind of unforgettable education that makes a real difference. May his memory be a blessing. I also want to emphasize strongly that it's important for leaders to stand up to anti-Semitism no matter where it comes from. Many of my colleagues claim to care about the rise of anti-Semitism in this country. But when white supremacists marched in Charlottesville, Virginia with burning torches and chanting, "Jews will not replace us," the president at the time, Donald Trump, said there were very fine people on both sides. One of the participants at that Unite the Right rally was Nick Fuentes, a vile anti-Semite, who, among other statements, has denied the scope of the Holocaust while comparing Jews exterminated in concentration camps to cookies being baked in an oven. Former President Trump hosted Nick Fuentes at Mar-a-Lago in November of 2022. General John Kelly, who served as then President Trump's chief of staff, has stated that the former president spoke favorably about Hitler, including that Hitler had done some good things. And just a few months ago, Donald Trump said, quote, any Jewish person that votes for Democrats hates their religion. Despite these persistent examples of comments that others have called anti-Semitic and continued relationships with well-known anti-Semites, I have not heard one word of concern from my colleagues across the aisle. In fact, what we have seen is consolidation of support for the former president. If my colleagues care about anti-Semitism, they would condemn and denounce these comments from the leader of their party. So I will offer my colleagues on the other side of the aisle the opportunity right now to condemn these previous comments. Does anyone have the courage to stand up against this? Let the record show that no one spoke up at this time. I look forward to the testimony and conversation today, again with the hope that we could have a constructive dialogue about how to fight back against anti-Semitism so all students can be safe and feel safe at school, whether that's a K-12 school, a college, or a university. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you very much, Ranking Member Bonamici. Pursuant to Committee Rule 8C, all committee members who wish to insert written statements in the record may do so by submitting them to the committee clerk electronically in Microsoft Word format by 5 p.m. after 14 days from the date of this hearing, which is May 22nd, 2024. And without objection, the hearing record will remain open for 14 days after the date of this hearing to allow such statements and other materials referenced during the hearing to be submitted for the official record. I note for the subcommittee, there are members of colleagues that are not a permanent part of the subcommittee who may be waiving on for the purposes of the day's hearing. And now, let's get to the introductions of our distinguished panel. Our first witness is Mr. David Banks. He is the Chancellor of the New York City Public Schools for the New York City Department of Education in New York, New York. The New York City Public Schools is the largest system in the nation. He was appointed by Mayor Eric Adams on January 1st, 2022, but he started his career as a school safety officer, after which he began his first teaching job at PS Public School 167. Chancellor Banks serves as an assistant principal at PS 191 before becoming a founding principal at the Bronx School for Law, Government, and Justice. He is a native New Yorker and graduate of the New York City Public School System. He holds a bachelor's degree from Rutgers University and earned his JD from St. John's University of Law. Our second witness is Carla Silvestri, who is the president of the Montgomery County Board of Education for the Montgomery County Public Schools in Rockville, Maryland. Ms. Silvestri was elected to her second four-year term on November 8th, 2022. She's currently serving a second term as president of the Board of Education. Ms. Silvestri's education policy experience began at the University of Pennsylvania, where she worked at the Penn-Merck Collaborative for Science Education, working as a teacher, professional development, and hands-on science education in West Philadelphia schools. She served as vice president for children and youth for a large nonprofit managing preventive school year and summer youth programs. Ms. Silvestri graduated from Florida State University with a bachelor's degree in biology and received her master's degree in education from the University of Pennsylvania. Greetings from the Sunshine State, Ms. Silvestri. We're glad to see where you are. Let's yield to Ms. Bonamici for introduction of a witness.
Coming up, a new investigative documentary exposes how the United Nations and the U.S. work hand in hand to facilitate mass migration and says it's being weaponized against America. We learn more from investigative reporter Joshua Phillip.
The U.S. reportedly revokes licenses for companies sending microchips to sanctioned Chinese companies like Huawei. That and more with the host of NTD's Business Matters.
Hey everyone, it's me, Sebastian, and it is a beautiful day today. We have so much to be grateful for, so just remember, if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. I just love inspiring people to be the best they can be. And the reason I'm able to inspire so many people is because people like you who inspire me with your support of Shriners Hospitals for Children. Since I was little, I've broken 100 bones and I've had 19 surgeries. Shriners Hospitals for Children was with me every step of the way. But more than that, they've given me the confidence to know I can do whatever I set my mind to. Like right now, I've set my mind to sharing my smile with you. Did you get it?
Because of people like you, I can play the violin.
I can play piano.
I can understand.
The help I get is only possible because of caring people like you who pick up the phone and call the number on your screen to make your monthly gift.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Kids like me.
And me.
And me.
And me. So what are you waiting for? You can inspire kids like me by visiting loveshriners.org. After all, you can't help everyone, but you can help someone. So let's go!
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving. Join me and bring a smile to the world with your monthly gift today.
Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Join me and bring a smile to the world.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
We're in the nation's capital asking the important questions so that you're in the know. Join us daily, Monday through Friday, on the Capitol Report on NTD News.
Welcome back. School district leaders are answering questions before lawmakers this morning about their handling of anti-Semitism.
Lawmakers say K through 12 schools saw an increase in anti-Semitism following Hamas's attack on Israel last October, and they want answers. Let's tune in.
Heinous events on October 7th, anti-Semitic, and they have been taught now in our schools and are continuing to be taught across many of our schools.
Is the former principal at Hillcrest still drawing a salary from New York City Public Schools today?
Yes, he is.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I said, yes, he is.
You are still paying
he is no longer the principal of the school.
How can Jewish students feel safe at New York City Public Schools when you can't even manage to terminate the principal of Open Season on Jews High School? Or even endorse suspension of student harassment? How can Jewish students go to school knowing that he is still on your payroll, sir?
I know his payroll it is, sir. And it's not Open Season on Jews School. It's called Hillcrest High School. That's the name of the school. And at that school, we considered his leadership not strong enough to be the leader in that school.
Wow, but he can still strong enough to participate in your school district? He's still strong enough to be on your payroll?
As the leader of that school.
Is he still strong enough a leader to be on your payroll, sir?
Every one of the employees.
Is that what you're saying? You're endorsing him to continue on your payroll because he has the moral authority to lead students
within our system.
Is that what you're saying, Mr. Banks?
What I said is what I just said.
That's what you're saying. You're saying that he still has the moral authority.
I did not say that. That's what you said.
That is what I'm asking you. You're justifying his continued employment.
That's how you
interpret it.
interpret
And I'm trying to challenge. How can that be?
Every employee who works in our schools has due process rights, sir.
Due process.
We do not have the authority to just because I disagree to just terminate someone. That's not the way that it works in our school system.
There are egregious crimes that have been committed under your watch. I want to give you the opportunity, we have 1 minute remaining, to speak directly to the parents of Jewish students in New York City. Think of this, as Jewish parents walk their children to school tomorrow morning, what can we say? What should they say to their children to allay their children's fears? How should they?
All right, cutting now to some business news. We are joined by NTD's Business Matters host, Don Ma, to give us the latest updates from the tech and business world. Don.
Hey, Steph. Don Ma, good to see you. What are today's business matters?
Well, let me tell you what matters today in business. So the U.S. said on Tuesday that it's revoked some licenses that allow companies to ship goods. For example, we're talking chips here, to sanction Chinese telecommunications equipment maker Huawei. And this is according to Reuters, citing people familiar with the situation. So the move comes after the release of last month's Huawei's first AI-enabled laptop, the MateBook X Pro, and it's powered by Intel's new Core Ultra 9 processor. So the laptop's launch drew criticism from Republican lawmakers. They suggested the Commerce Department had given Intel the green light to sell the chip to Huawei. So the revocations came after a years-long review of the U.S. policy on what goods and technologies could in fact be shipped to Huawei, which, by the way, is a flagship Chinese telecommunication company that is viewed as a national security threat here in the U.S. It could hamper Huawei's recently resurgent revenue, these curbs, and it could also hurt the U.S. suppliers that have been allowed to do business with the company. So the company has been placed, by the way, on U.S. trade restrictions list in 2019 amid fears that it could spy on everyday Americans, and it's part of a broader effort to handicap China's ability to boost its military as well.
Yeah, and on that point, considering that these devices now could make their way into the homes of millions of people in the U.S. and around the world, and yet this company is known for or accused of these kinds of things, it's quite concerning, really. But turning now to Biden visiting Wisconsin today, what's on the agenda there?
Well, it's also business related, what he's doing there, at least in part, that is. So what's happening is Biden is expected to visit there, which is a key battleground state, by the way. He plans to announce plans by Microsoft to build a $3.3 billion data center that is going to create thousands of jobs. And the Microsoft facility in Racine County in southeastern Wisconsin will be built on the same land where Taiwan electronics manufacturer Foxconn actually previously planned to build their factory worth $10 billion before it was drastically recalled, scaled down back on its plans with Foxconn. So the White House says that the Microsoft plant and its plans will result in around 2,300 union construction jobs being created here and around 2,000 permanent jobs over time.
It's interesting to see how, the government is pushing back against this Chinese technology, Huawei, while developing these U.S. technology companies here on U.S. soil. That was a major controversy 5 years ago.
Well, it could be learning from a page from China's playbook because, Beijing has been subsidizing its chip industry as well. And the U.S. now seems like is done playing fair, so to speak, quote unquote fair, and is subsidizing its own industry as well.
All right, Don Ma, thank you.
Chris Spears, thanks.
And over 7.2 million people have entered the United States, either illegally or through the amnesty system, since President Biden came into office. A new investigative documentary by the Epoch Times uncovers how the United Nations and United States work hand in hand to facilitate mass migration. The documentary, called Weapons of Mass Migration, concludes that mass migration is being weaponized to destroy America. The director and host of the documentary, Joshua Phillip, joins us now to discuss. Josh is also a senior investigative reporter with the Epoch Times. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Stephanie, real pleasure being here.
Absolutely. Now, weapons of mass migration, that's a really strong term. What did you uncover in your documentary that led you to conclude that the immigration crisis is being weaponized against the United States?
Oh, the weaponization part ties into, of course, what you're hearing from United Nations members and also groups that are part of the initiative. So, I mean, this requires a couple small steps, so let me just explain it. Basically, what we uncovered is that the mass migration system is not organic. It's not being run by cartels or human traffickers, although they are part of the system. What's really happening is the federal government signed an agreement with the United Nations called the Global Compact for Migration. That has set in place all the different systems throughout Latin America. I went into Panama, I was in Mexico, I was in different parts of the US border, videotaping this process. I have, again, in the documentary. They've established a system to facilitate this. Now, there are different levels of interest. I don't think the US government maybe is trying to destroy America, but again, it's up to people's interpretations. But if you go into the program, the Global Compact for Migration, they're talking about creating global equity, an initiative basically to make the US have a bit more crime and become a bit less poor by taking people from third world countries where they have high crime and high poverty and moving those individuals here, right? That's what it is on paper. And then if you go into other statements from other foreign leaders, Xi Jinping, for example, the Chinese Communist Party, different organizations tied in with it, what they're talking about is what they call the multipolar world order, which requires the tearing down of what they call the unipolar world order. That is a reference to the United States. They basically say the current world is run by the US and Western Europe. And so in order to create a more, let's say, a shared global governance, they need to tear down the United States and tear down Western Europe. And so these programs for illegal mass migration, where are they going to? It's going to the United States and Western Europe to make us more equal, right? Global equity with the third world. And that is what they're doing, it seems.
So as you mentioned, the documentary explores how the United Nations and the United States itself work hand in hand to facilitate this mass migration. Could you explain for us in a little more depth how that works?
Yeah, so my investigations into this actually started a few years ago. When I first started the investigations, I actually believed that it was mainly the cartels running it. And, you know, when I first set out, that's what I was trying to investigate. Very quickly, I found out that the cartels, the Mexican cartels, they play a role at the US-Mexico border just at the crossings, and not even all of them. They're a business controlling some of the shipping channels and human trafficking channels, and that's about it when it comes to, you know, the issue of illegal mass migration, at least. What I did find, though, was that the US government was directly funding and operating programs alongside the United Nations and with many NGO partners, in fact, like 270, running the operation. The buses, for example, the programs of facilitating mass migration, even giving money, cash envelopes, and, you know, cash card payments to the illegals as they again travel to the United States to illegally enter the country. And in the recent again, one of the organizations I previously exposed is called the IOM, the International Organization for Migration, which the State Department directly coordinates these operations with. On paper, you can go to their own website and they say it. The recent investigation focused more heavily on the UN programs themselves. And so I went into Panama, for example, the mouth of the Darien Gap, gained access, which is actually hard to do. I gained access to all four of the migrant camps at the southernmost part of Panama, which facilitate this. And what I found, and again, people can see it in the documentary, they have United Nations checkpoints run by UNICEF where people, as they illegally enter this country, again, illegal immigration is illegal in Panama, so they don't let them wander around. They can only stay at these camps. Yeah. They register themselves at the UN checkpoints. Once they get registered, they put them on buses and they send them to Costa Rica.
That's incredible.
And then Costa Rica does the same thing and the same thing until they reach the U.S.-Mexico border.
That just
It
sounds,
is a facilitated process.
Wow, just such a deep investigation here. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Just finally, Josh, what struck you the most in your investigative work in making this documentary that you think viewers need to know?
Well, people have been hearing about, for example, the Chinese migrants. They've been hearing about people coming to the country. They wonder who they are. I don't, in my investigation, I don't make these people out to be like bad people. In fact, some of the stories I heard were terrible. I mean, some of the Ecuador, for example, and some of the people I spoke to, fleeing gang violence and people who were robbed or, suffered other terrible crimes when they were trying to come here. It was terrible. I mean, honestly, I can really empathize with these people. But what I felt was that a lot of them are being used, that there are other agendas at play. And I think as a country, we've gotten so focused on the migrants themselves that we've forgotten to look at maybe the bigger picture of it, that there is a system facilitating this. And so while I do show the element of human suffering, I don't ignore that. I do also show what is behind it, because again, my feeling is that they're using these people. These people are being used for an agenda. Also, I was shocked to find some of what I discovered at the U.S.-Mexico border, where our own government, of course, Customs Border Protection, when they arrest people, they're not deporting them. They process them and they put them on buses and drop them off on the streets of the U.S. I also caught all that on tape. I have it on video in the documentary. And frankly, it's shocking. There is a system in place to facilitate this. And for some reason, we're not being told about it.
Thank you so much for those insights, Josh. I am so looking forward to seeing this documentary. And of course, weapons
pleasure.
of...
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh. Weapons of Mass Migration is set to premiere tomorrow, May 9th, on Epic TV exclusively at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check it out.
And to learn more about the documentary, you can visit the website massmigrationfilm.com.
Coming up, massive flooding in southern Brazil leaves more than 150,000 people homeless and scores dead and missing. Survivors are searching for food and shelter. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
Lord Heavenly Father, I pray to you today to guide us tomorrow. Give us strength as we face death. Help us not to be afraid, as we know that we are going to be coming to your kingdom.
Hello. Today we are talking about Medicare Advantage plans, also known as Medicare Part C. If you have Original Medicare, you have Medicare Part A and Part B. Part A covers hospital stays, while Part B covers medical visits like seeing the doctor. A Medicare Part C plan covers everything in Parts A and B and could save you money or include additional benefits you may not be receiving with your current plan. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage for any reason, call now to see if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that could include additional benefits. All you have to do to find out if you could enroll in a plan that could save you money or include additional benefits is follow these steps. 1. Call the number on your screen. 2. Give your zip code to the licensed insurance agent. And 3. Find a plan best for you and your needs. Part C plans can change every year. Call now, even if you've called in the past, because you could be eligible for 2024 plans with additional benefits that may have previously been unavailable to you. So call today and find out the plan options available to you in your zip code. Just call 800-693-6549. You do not automatically get enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan that saves money or includes additional benefits, so you should call to find out what plans are available to you. Insurance companies offer different plans in different zip codes. Call today and find out what plans are available to you in your zip code. Call 800-693-6549. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage for any reason, call now to see if you're eligible to enroll in a Part C plan that could save you money and include additional benefits. All you have to do is follow these steps. 1. Call the number on your screen. 2. Give your zip code to the licensed insurance agent. And 3. Find a plan best for you and your needs. Remember, you do not automatically get a Part C plan. Call now for your free 2024 no-obligation Medicare benefits review. Call 800-693-6549. 800-693-6549. 800-693-6549.
Back to the news. Rescuers continue to evacuate people stranded by devastating floods across southern Brazil. At least 90 people have died, with thousands left homeless.
Rescuers rushed to evacuate people stranded by devastating floods across the southern Brazilian state of Rio Grande do Sul on Tuesday. The deluge has left at least 90 dead and over 150,000 homeless, with many desperate survivors seeking food and basic supplies. Relatives waited at the shore of the Guaiba River in the state capital of Porto Alegre to find their loved ones on the boats that brought rescued people from flood-hit areas. Taina Silva is still waiting for news on her husband.
My daughter won't stop crying. There are firefighters there, but they say they can't do anything from there, so I should come here and ask the firefighters here if they can save my husband there.
The flooding has made rescue efforts even tougher, with dozens of people still waiting to be evacuated by boat or helicopter from rain-stricken homes. The downpour that began last week has caused rivers to flood, inundating whole towns, destroying roads, bridges and airports. Now the rain is forecast to let up on Thursday, but then will continue through the weekend. In Porto Alegre, a city of 1.3 million inhabitants, downtown streets were underwater after the Guaiba River breached its banks with record water levels. Civil defense authorities say the floods have also impacted water and electricity services, with more than 1.4 million affected overall.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese pushing back against China today. That's after Beijing blamed Australia for a dangerous clash between troops in international airspace.
The explanation given overnight by Chinese authorities does not satisfy any change to the position that we've taken.
A Chinese warplane used flares against an Australian Navy helicopter in international airspace over the Yellow Sea on Saturday. The Yellow Sea lies between China and the Korean Peninsula.
Flares can damage a helicopter's rotor blades or engines, leading to the downing of the aircraft. The clash is the most serious encounter between the two nations' military since last November.
Albanese stated that the Australian troops were carrying out missions to enforce UN sanctions against North Korea. Beijing said the helicopter flew deliberately close to China's airspace in a provocative move.
Albanese rejected that argument and called China's response unprofessional and unacceptable. Albanese added he will raise the disagreement with China's premier when he visits Australia next month. Before we head to break, if you have any feedback, please email us at news.today@ntd.com.
But stay with us. We'll have more stories in just a moment.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
I grew up in poverty, and I actually became physically homeless right after I turned 16.
I didn't have anywhere to sleep, and I didn't really have friends or family that could support me.
To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life.
Without the Covenant House, I honestly could not tell you where I would be today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I would not be here today if it weren't for the kindness of strangers, people who donated to Covenant House so that they could support me when I couldn't support myself.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible.
Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month.
A Boeing FedEx cargo jet skids on its nose while landing. The front landing gear failed as the jet came in at a Turkish airport. How the pilot saved the day.
In D.C., police cleared the protest encampment at George Washington University. That was just hours before the mayor and police chief were set to testify at a House hearing. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez standing by.
An overview of how Trump and Biden are faring in a head-to-head 2024 matchup, plus how the religious vote is changing.
The Biden administration reportedly blocking an arms shipment to Israel. We have more about the reason why and how Israel responds.
Russia says it would attack French troops if they're being sent to Ukraine. Details on the warning from Russia's foreign ministry spokeswoman.
A pro-democracy song is now banned in Hong Kong at Beijing's request. What it means for free speech and for Google.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Another incident involving a Boeing-made aircraft. A FedEx Airlines cargo plane landed at Istanbul airport by skidding on its nose.
The plane was unable to deploy front landing gear that controls the front wheel.
Turkey's transport ministry said the plane managed to stay on the runway and avoided casualties.
The nearly 10-year-old Boeing 767 aircraft was flying from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. Pilots informed the traffic control tower at Istanbul Airport that its landing gear failed to open and it landed with guidance from the tower.
The pilots held the plane's nose above the runway for several seconds after the main wheels had touched ground. According to the Skybrary Aviation Database, it's an emergency landing maneuver that pilots train for.
Airport rescue and firefighting teams made necessary preparations on the runway before landing. After landing, the plane was doused with firefighting foam. The Department of Justice is nearing a decision on whether Boeing broke a 2021 deal to avoid prosecution over 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes. Families of crash victims received a letter inviting them to a May 31st meeting to learn the decision, as reported by ABC, that is. If Boeing violated the agreement, it could face historic criminal charges impacting the aviation industry. Families have criticized what they see as the DOJ's lack of transparency, but are eager to hear the decision. This meeting marks the 4th session between the DOJ family and families who have been pushing for accountability since the crashes.
We have some breaking news. Georgia's appeals court has agreed to hear former President Trump's bid to disqualify Fulton County DA Fani Willis. Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee previously allowed Willis to continue prosecuting Trump after Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade resigned.
Trump and 8 of his co-defendants in the Georgia RICO case have urged the appeals court to overturn McAfee's ruling.
Trump's lawyer said Trump looks forward to arguing why the case should be dismissed and why DA Willis should be disqualified.
The court's decision to hear the appeal before trial could cause further delays in the case. The losing side could still appeal the appeal court's decision to the Georgia Supreme Court.
And today, President Biden is making a campaign stop in the battleground state of Wisconsin. He's planning specifically to speak with black voters.
In 2020, Biden carried the state by just 21,000 votes, thanks to turnout in Madison and the suburbs. The turnout in Milwaukee's majority black precincts was lower.
This is Biden's fourth trip to Wisconsin this year. While there, the president is also expected to announce a new artificial intelligence facility in Racine. Microsoft is investing $3.3 billion in that project.
President Biden is going on the offensive with new ads targeting former President Trump on health care. Here's a clip of one of the ads.
Healthcare should be a basic right. Folks, he's coming for your healthcare, and we're not going to let it happen. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Biden's re-election campaign is spending of $14 million on ads in battleground states. That includes money for targeting minority groups.
The ads highlight Trump's attempts to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Biden's campaign sees health care as a key issue, especially as the Affordable Care Act has gained popularity.
The Biden campaign is also focusing on what they see as Biden's achievements in health care, like capping insulin prices. And a House panel is accusing the Biden administration of using taxpayer money to help President Biden win a key battleground state. The House Committee on Small Business sent subpoenas to 2 administration officials yesterday. The committee is investigating the Small Business Administration, or SBA, and a first-of-its-kind voter registration agreement in Michigan.
The GOP-led House panel says the deal with Michigan's Department of State could favor Democrats over Republicans. The deal made in March has Michigan officials collaborate with the SBA to drive online visitors to register to vote. It also lets Michigan officials use the SBA's Michigan field office for in-person voter registration.
The SBA is also encouraging voter registration nationwide. Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is challenging former President Trump to a debate. The venue, the Libertarian National Convention in Washington, D.C. Both Kennedy and Trump are scheduled to speak at the event, hosted from May 23rd to May 25th.
In an open letter on X, Kennedy said Trump supporters are now supporting him. He added that the Libertarian Convention is the perfect neutral territory for a debate.
Kennedy mentioned CNN and Quinnipiac surveys indicating he stood above the 15% mark. That's the minimum needed for a presence on stage in the presidential debates.
Trump's campaign did not respond to Kennedy's post.
And looking at results from Indiana's primaries, Senator Mike Braun wins the Republican nomination in the governor's race. Democratic nominee Jennifer McCormick was unopposed.
Braun chose to run for the open governor's seat instead of a second term in the Senate. He beat 5 GOP contenders looking to replace Republican Governor Eric Holcomb.
Congresswoman Victoria Spartz will run to serve another term after defeating several GOP challengers. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more Indiana primary results.
We have the fourth choice.
Indiana Representative Victoria Spartz is projected to win the GOP primary for her 5th district seat. The Ukrainian-born congresswoman first won the seat in 2020. Spartz faced 8 challengers Tuesday night after deciding to seek re-election. Competition included State Representative Chuck Goodrich, a businessman who outspent Spartz. Spartz was an early advocate for U.S. support for Ukraine, but she voted against a $95 billion foreign aid package with $61 billion for Ukraine last month. Goodrich aired television ads accusing Spartz of putting Ukraine first. Democratic nominee Deborah Pickett will challenge Spartz for her seat. Meanwhile, in the race for Indiana's next governor, Senator Mike Braun bested 5 GOP competitors to win the Republican primary, including incumbent Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. Braun is seeking to replace term-limited Republican Governor Eric Holcomb. Indiana has had a Republican governor since 2004. Braun will face Democratic nominee Jennifer McCormick in the November general election. McCormick, a former Republican, changed parties in 2021. Libertarian nominee Donald Rainwater and Independent Christopher Street have also thrown their hats in the ring. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
More on the presidential election. We'll get an overview of how the presumptive nominees Biden and Trump are faring in a head-to-head matchup.
Yes, and we'll look at the religious vote and how voter sentiment there is changing. The Pew Research Center says 20% of American adults identify as Catholic. That's about 52 million people. So this group could prove to be one decisive factor in November. NTD's Kevin Hogan joins us now to break down the numbers at the Data Hub. What can you tell us there, Kevin?
Yes, Steph and Chris, out here in the Data Hub, we're going to look at who Americans would vote for were the 2024 presidential election held today. Right here, we see President Biden picking up 48% of the vote, and that's compared to former President Donald Trump's 49%. This just shows that these two candidates are neck and neck, virtually, according to Pew Research Center poll. And this is assuming that RFK Jr., a third-party candidate, is not in the race, and he could pick up about 10% of the vote there. And now just keep in mind that this neck and neck, 48% to 49%, is only a snapshot of this race, given that it's the Electoral College that is going to ultimately determine the outcome of this election. Right now, we're going to look at the religious vote. So who would Catholics vote for? Right now, as it stands, according to Pew, 43% of Catholics would pick President Biden, whereas 55% would pick former President Donald Trump. The significance of those numbers falls in the fact that back in 2020, 49% of Americans chose President Biden as their pick, whereas 50% only chose former President Trump. So that is a 6-point drop-off that we're seeing here for the Catholic vote for President Biden, whereas Trump is picking up about 5%. Some analysts say that this is driven largely by the Hispanic Catholics that are now shifting from the Democrat Party, a party that they have done a lot to retain this group, now over to the Republican Party. Let's move on here. We look at the Protestant vote in the 2024 presidential election. Not much has changed from now to 2020. For President Biden, 38% to 40%. It's about a wash, 2 points, not much. And for former President Trump, 60% now compared to 59% back in 2020. This is just very similar that we're seeing here. However, former President Trump is picking up about 22 points more than President Biden here in the Protestant vote, and that could be largely driven by the fact that former President Trump espouses a lot of these conservative values, whereas President Biden has championed these more progressive values and policies in his time in office here. Now, we're going to look at the Black Protestant vote here. Now, according to Pew, 77% of Black Protestants choose President Biden, whereas 18% would pick former President Trump. 18% seems like a small number, but when we look back to the 2020 vote, we can see that President Trump's support among Black Protestants has doubled in those 4 years, whereas President Biden's support has dwindled by about 14 points in this particular voting group. Now we're going to look at a recap here, and we're going to see how President Biden is losing support among religious groups, 6 points here from the Catholics and 2 points from the Protestants across the board, whereas former President Trump, he is picking up support, 5 points here from the Catholic vote, 1 point here from the Protestant vote. So he is gaining across the board in terms of the total religious vote. And this is very important considering that Protestants make up the biggest religious voting group in America, and Catholics come right behind at second. Thank you so much. Back to you, Steph and Chris.
New Yorkers won't be voting on abortion access this November. A judge found that state lawmakers didn't follow procedural rules surrounding passing constitutional amendments.
Democrats passed the Equal Protection of Law Amendment last year. It would address discrimination based on, quote, pregnancy outcomes or gender expression. Its provisions are intended to indirectly protect access to abortion and cross-sex drugs and procedures.
The judge said the lawmakers incorrectly approved the amendment. They were supposed to first get a written opinion on the language from the state attorney general. AG Letitia James's office said it would appeal the decision.
The ruling is a setback for some Democrats who are hoping to spur voter turnout around abortion access.
House Republicans are introducing a bill that would ensure illegal immigrants don't vote in federal elections. The bill is being brought by Congressman Chip Roy with the support of House Speaker Mike Johnson.
The bill is being dubbed the SAVE Act. Non-citizen voting in federal elections is already prohibited, but past Supreme Court decisions limit states' power to make sure voters are actually citizens.
The SAVE Act would strengthen safeguards around voter registration to ensure compliance with existing laws. It would require applicants to show proof of citizenship when registering to vote.
The bill also provides accommodations for mail-in voting registration and for those who don't have documents to prove citizenship. They can undergo a separate process to have their citizenship verified.
The SAFE Act would also require Homeland Security to investigate non-citizens who are illegally registered to vote. Republican Senator Mike Lee is scheduled to introduce the same bill to the Democrat-controlled upper chamber.
Georgia is taking its own measures when it comes to ensuring that only eligible voters are voting. Governor Brian Kemp has signed a bill to change the state's election laws. One of the changes includes outlining the reasons for removing voters from the rolls. It lists death, voting or registering in another jurisdiction, and other probable causes.
Opponents say the bill Kemp signed yesterday would enable baseless removing voters, while supporters say it better protects against just that.
The measure also says homeless people must use the county voter registration office as their address. Opponents say that could make it harder for homeless citizens to cast ballots in their registered polling place might be far away. And federal judges are telling Louisiana state lawmakers to draw up a new congressional election map by June 3rd, or they'll make one themselves. The Tuesday order comes after the judges rejected Louisiana's election map, which added a second mostly black district. Whatever comes out of the court could impact the makeup of the next Congress. A new mostly black district could give the Democrats the chance to capture another House seat, given the prevailing voting patterns in Louisiana. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill says the ruling threatens the ability of the Secretary of State to conduct a stable and fair election. The latest development comes after the court on April 30th rejected a map that converted District 6 into a mostly black district. The judges said that the newest map violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment because race was the predominant factor driving its creation. Coming up, an American woman who returned from Syria is facing charges of training with the ISIS terrorist group. We let you know what we know about her case.
And powerful tornadoes and storms caused damage in the Midwest. See dramatic footage from on the ground.
And the man who tried to shoot a pastor during a service at a Pennsylvania church is charged with homicide. That's after a body was discovered in the assailant's home. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
I go by Jackie. I'm 44 years old. I had 3 kids at the time and single mother. I was working 60 hours a week. Still couldn't pay the bills. Skipped meals so that they could eat. It's been hard because one thing falls into place, 10 things fall out of place. You know, I just can't do this alone and make it work.
1 in 5 children face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. But everyone needs nourishing food to thrive, and they can when we work together so our neighbors can feed their families. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for families across America.
One day my mother came over to my house and said, "There's a meeting at the pantry." I said, "Okay," and I went. There were some ladies in there. They were from the food bank. They asked several questions. Some of those were about me and my story, but it helped me to open up a little bit.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger, from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you give by credit card, we'll send you this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you are a part of a movement of supporters working together to help end hunger.
I have people that I can trust. I have hope.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org. Working together, we can end hunger in America.
All right, I'm at the house, and I'm gonna head inside. Okay, come on. This door. I'm in the house.
What do you see?
Let me check the den. There's nothing in the den. Let me check the kitchen. There's no one downstairs, it looks like.
Wait, what was that?
I don't know. Let me head upstairs.
What do you see?
What the? Did you shut this bathroom door?
No.
Oh,
What?
It's not here.
What do you mean?
The gun's not here.
What? Where is it?
Oh my God.
What's going on?
Cam.
Oh my God, what's going
Cameron, are you in there? Open the door. Cam, please, please, open the door, Cameron. Come on, Cam.
We're in the nation's capital asking the important questions so that you're in the know. Join us daily, Monday through Friday, on the Capitol Report on NTD News.
An American woman who was sent back to the U.S. from Syria is facing charges for allegedly training with ISIS abroad. Halima Salman is accused of learning how to use an AK-47 assault rifle with the ISIS terrorist group while she was living in Syria. She was one of 11 U.S. citizens, all part of the same family from northeast Syria, who were repatriated.
According to court documents, Salman left the U.S. at 17 years old and entered the ISIS-controlled area in late 2016 or early 2017. Prosecutors said once Salman turned 18 years old, she received training from ISIS.
The FBI interviewed Salman last year. She allegedly told agents she had married an ISIS fighter, but denied being involved in any ISIS activities.
We now turn to updates on the Israel-Hamas war. The U.S. has reportedly paused an arms shipment to Israel amid concerns over the Rafah operation.
A Biden administration official told Reuters that the U.S. held up a shipment of over 3,000 bombs to Israel last week. This is reportedly over concerns that they may be used in the Rafah operation, which the U.S. opposes.
The official said the 2,000-pound bombs could have an impact in dense urban settings. The Israeli military appeared to respond, saying, quote, "When there are disputes, and there are, they are being resolved behind closed doors in a matter-of-fact way."
This comes as CIA Director Bill Burns met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss ceasefire and hostage negotiations.
Inside Gaza, the UN says roughly 50,000 people have evacuated from Rafah, and the Karim Shalom border crossing between southern Gaza and Israel has reopened to allow humanitarian aid.
The Biden administration is working on a report for Congress this week on whether Israel has violated international law during the war in Gaza. It could lead to significant repercussions and further inflame divisions at home and abroad.
The report has been the subject of intense debate for months within the administration, and it's already led to deep divisions inside the State Department.
The report will also weigh in on whether Israel has impeded the delivery of U.S. humanitarian assistance. And D.C. Metropolitan Police cleared an encampment of protesters at George Washington University hours before the city's mayor and chief of police were set to testify before the House Oversight Committee.
Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez joins us now from the Capitol. Luis, what can you tell us about the situation there?
Yes, of course. So today, around 3:30 in the morning, Metropolitan Police cleared an illegal encampment of pro-Palestinian protesters that had been occupying parts of the George Washington University's campus since April 25th. Now, it's important that Pamela Smith, the Metropolitan Police chief, stated that it was elements that they detected since last Thursday that prompted them to take action. Let's listen to what Pamela Smith, the Metropolitan Police chief, had to say.
But over the past few days, we began to see an escalation in the volatility of the protests at GW. This started last Thursday when a GW campus police officer was pushed by protesters and an item was grabbed out of the police officer's hand during the performance of her duties.
The timeline is important because we need to remember that last week, George Washington University president sent a letter to D.C. officials requesting assistance from the police to clear the illegal encampment. D.C. police and D.C. mayor refused to assist George Washington University. And then last Wednesday, the House Oversight Committee went to the illegal encampment and announced a hearing summoning D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith to testify on their handling of these protests. And it was the day after that they started detecting, according to the police chief, intelligence gatherings, elements that prompted it to take action. Let's listen to more of those elements that Metropolitan Police Chief signaled that they detected since last Thursday.
On Monday, MPD learned of more indicators that the protest was becoming more volatile and less stable. This included a simple assault reported to GW police, security probing of a GW building, indicators that counter-demonstrators were covertly in the encampment, and information that protesters from other schools were traveling to GW. In addition, items that could potentially be used for offensive and defensive weapons were being gathered.
So at least 33 people were arrested, 29 of them for trespassing, 4 of them for assaulting police officer. Pepper spray had to be used in 3 different occasions, but the encampment has been cleared. It remains to be seen if George Washington University officials will permit students or other people who had taken part in these protests to protest elsewhere.
So, Luis, the Metropolitan Police and D.C. Mayor decided to act just 10 hours before they had to appear before the House Oversight Committee. Did the hearing play any part in the authorities' decision-making, do you think?
Of course, during this morning's press conference with the Metropolitan Police Chief and the D.C. Mayor, pressed, ironically, the officials on whether or not the timeline of the hearing had anything to do with the logic of taking action and clearing the encampment. And this is what both the Metropolitan Police Chief and Muriel Bowser, D.C. Mayor, had to say. Let's listen.
It did not. All of the decisions that I've made is based on public safety. I had the opportunity to speak with Chairman Comer this morning, and he expressed his interest in making sure the city and the chief could focus on this ongoing operation. I expect that hearing will be pulled down.
So D.C. officials rejected the notion that the hearing had anything to do with their decision to take action and clear the encampment. House Oversight Committee Chairman Congressman James Comer said in a statement that he was pleased that the actions of the committee had forced D.C. officials to take action, but also confirmed that the hearing had been canceled, not postponed, but canceled. According to what D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser said, Congressman James Comer and the House Oversight Committee wanted D.C. officials to focus on the ongoing situation. Back to you, Chris, Steph.
Luis Martinez on Capitol Hill, thank you. The man who tried to shoot a pastor during a service at a Pennsylvania church has been charged with 1 criminal count of homicide. A body was discovered in his home.
A short time ago, homicide detectives from our homicide unit filed a criminal complaint against Bernard Polite, age 26 of North Braddock, charging him with 1 count of criminal homicide. This is in the shooting death of his cousin, Derek Polite, in the incident that occurred on the morning of Sunday, May 5th.
The attempted shooting at the Jesus Dwelling Place Church in North Braddock took place Sunday while the service was being live streamed.
Bernard Polite entered the church just after 1 p.m. and walked toward the front while Reverend Glenn Germany was giving a sermon.
A deacon was able to thwart Polite's attack after the gun failed to fire.
Police say that gun was the same firearm used in the homicide. And more updates on severe weather conditions in the Midwest. A barrage of storms swept through the region yesterday, unleashing heavy rain, strong gusts of wind, and tornadoes.
Local media reported that multiple tornadoes touched down in southern Michigan throughout the day, causing damage to several buildings. Over a dozen residents were injured.
According to PowerOutage.us, more than 30,000 homes and businesses in Michigan were left without power as of this morning.
Residents across the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley also saw large hail, damaging wind gusts, and heavy rainfall. A large area of the eastern and central U.S. will still face more rounds of storms today.
According to the Storm Prediction Center, nearly 4 million people are under a level 4 risk of severe thunderstorms. They cover parts of Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
And the last missing body of a construction worker killed in the Baltimore bridge collapse has been recovered. Salvage divers found the body of Jose Minor Lopez yesterday at the scene of the bridge collapse.
The recovery comes more than a month after a cargo ship crashed into the bridge. The collapse that followed sent 8 construction workers into the Patapsco River, killing 6 of them.
All victims were Latino immigrants working an overnight shift, filling potholes on the bridge.
Police were able to stop traffic moments before the collapse, but they didn't have enough time to alert the workers.
And the container ship that crashed into the bridge in Baltimore is still stuck under part of the bridge structure. Now crews are preparing to use explosives to free it.
The crew of the Dolly is still on board the ship and will remain there even while the explosives are detonated. Maryland Governor Wes Moore said this complies with the best historical practices.
Moore said that once the Francis Scott Key Bridge's steel structure is safely removed from the water, the ship will float again. The channel would also be able to reopen. And a dump truck hit an overpass in Fairfax County, Virginia on Monday, and the shocking moment was caught on video. Take a look at the truck traveling in the left-hand lane on Interstate 66 with its trailer upright. It then strikes an overhead ramp support beam.
The trailer broke off and landed in a travel lane. Luckily, no other vehicles were damaged and no one was injured. It's unclear whether the dump truck driver realized the trailer was upright.
The driver who recorded the video called it a terrifying moment.
The accident caused lane closures on I-66 and snarled the evening commute for hours. Oregon's Portland Police Bureau is investigating a claim of responsibility for the arson of more than a dozen police vehicles last week.
The claim came in a social media post Monday by a group calling itself Rachel Corrie's Ghost Brigade. 23-year-old Rachel Corrie was killed in 2003 when an Israeli bulldozer crushed her while she was attempting to block it from demolishing Palestinian homes in Gaza.
The Post read in part, on May Day, we torched some PPB Portland Police Bureau cars at their training facility.
The self-proclaimed anarchist group referred to the pro-Palestinian demonstrations at colleges across the nation, specifically at Portland State University.
They described the arson as a preemptive attack against police in anticipation of operations against demonstrators at Portland State.
Lawmakers want to ensure quick refunds for airline passengers whose flights are canceled. House and Senate negotiators agreed to revise language in an aviation budget.
The changes mean refunds would be automatic in many instances unless passengers accept a new flight.
Senator Maria Cantwell said passengers can reject vouchers or alternative flights and without hassle get a refund if the changes pass.
The rule wouldn't offer compensation for delays. And the Internal Revenue Service says the deadline to claim the more than $1 billion in tax refunds from 2020 is about to expire. May 17th is the deadline for people who failed to file their 2020 tax return to become eligible for a refund. The IRS says there's no penalty for failure to file if a refund is due. However, a return claiming a refund must be filed within 3 years of its due date for a refund to be allowed. Traditionally, the filing deadline to claim old refunds are around April 15th, but in 2020 the filing deadline was extended to May 17th due to COVID-19. A state-by-state income tax breakdown sheet for 2020 is posted on the IRS website.
Up ahead, Secretary of State Antony Blinken discussing immigration with representatives from 22 different countries. What they said, including about allowing more people to enter countries legally.
Australia rejects Beijing's claim that Canberra is to blame for a dangerous military aircraft encounter between the two countries. Hear the Prime Minister's response after the break here on NTD News Today.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I had heard many times that heart disease is the #1 killer. It went in one ear and out the other, frankly. I never had a health issue. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. By the time I got to the ER, the doctor decided to give me a CAT scan. He said, I don't think you understand. You are on the verge of a heart attack. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I received 2 stents in my arteries, stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. With you by our side, together we'll keep fighting this battle. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. Put yourself on your to-do list. It could be the most important thing you ever do. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
Water, nature's ultimate cleaner. We drink it, we bathe in it. Think water, think steam, think clean. Now harness the power of water with the H2O X5 5-in-1 steam cleaning system.
I'm so impressed with the X5. It's an all-in-one product. I can use it throughout my entire house.
It's cleaning, it's sanitizing, there's no chemicals in it. It's just steam.
This is unbelievable. There is no more odor. You could spend over $500 to purchase the products that the X5 5-in-1 Miracle replaces. Order your H2O X5 steam cleaning system, a $500 value, for just 4 easy payments of $43. Order now and we'll upgrade your X5 package. We'll add a 6th mode with a dusting and polishing wand. Valued at over $30, this extra bonus attachment makes your H2O X5 the H2O X6. That means your 10-piece system becomes a 12-piece system at no extra cost to you. All for just 3 easy payments of $43. Call or click right now.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wright. We thank you for joining us and watching America's Hope here on NTD News. Bottom line is, I know you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but let's give you some good news in the midst of the bad news. Watch us nightly, right here on NTD News, for a full dose of America's Hope.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken discussing migration with representatives from 22 countries. Blinken joined them at a conference in Guatemala yesterday.
We stepped up efforts against those preying on vulnerable migrants. In February, we announced a new visa restriction policy that targets individuals who knowingly provide transportation to those intending to migrate irregularly to the United States.
The conference had 3 main goals: to continue offering legal pathways to enter their countries, to provide aid to communities most affected by migration, and to coordinate their response to migration flows.
Blinken says progress has been made in all those areas, but he noted that people still migrate illegally. For example, through the Darien Gap and across the U.S.-Mexico border. Blinken says migrants should use legal pathways instead.
And now we have some short headlines from Russia, Scotland, and other European countries. Ukraine says Russia attacked its capital, Kyiv, overnight. Ukraine's emergency service reporting at least 2 people injured and 13 residential buildings damaged.
President Volodymyr Zelensky says a total of 7 Ukrainian regions have been attacked overnight, with Russia launching more than 50 missiles and 20 drones. The Ukrainian Air Force reportedly downed most of those.
Russia today said it would attack French troops if they're sent to Ukraine. Russia's foreign ministry spokeswoman sent the warning to French President Emmanuel Macron.
She also said Russia was seeing growing numbers of French nationals killed in the Ukraine war. She suggested some did not just fight in the war, but also led units of Ukraine's armed forces.
She added that if French citizens appear in the conflict zone, they will become targets. Romania's president says he's open to talking about sending a Patriot missile system to Ukraine. He made the remarks after meeting President Biden at the White House yesterday.
In 2017, Romania signed a $4 billion deal to receive Patriots. At the time, it was the biggest contract for any NATO or EU state. The first shipment was delivered in 2020.
The White House thanked Romania for its commitment to security in NATO's east. It also applauded Romania's defense investments, which exceed NATO's spending target. Scotland has a new First Minister. John Swinney of the Scottish National Party has been sworn in today.
Swinney emerged as the sole contender for the role after the previous premier resigned.
The new First Minister was the leader of the Scottish National Party from 2000 to 2004. He also served as Scotland's Deputy First Minister and Finance Minister. And North Macedonia, a small Balkan country, is holding parliamentary and presidential elections today. The conservative opposition is expected to gain ground against the ruling party.
No polls were published, but the opposition's strong showing in the first round of the presidential election suggests dissatisfaction.
Voters are frustrated over the slow progress toward EU accession and widespread corruption. A pro-democracy song is now banned in Hong Kong. A court green-lighted Beijing's request today. A lower court had rejected the ban, saying it could undermine free speech in Hong Kong.
The song Glory to Hong Kong was written in 2019 amid mass democracy protests. Many protesters consider it the unofficial national anthem, and Google even displays it when users search for Hong Kong's national anthem.
Google previously said it wouldn't change the search results to display China's national anthem, but now it says it's reviewing the court's judgment.
The ruling also has implications for anyone who spreads the song or suggests that Hong Kong is an independent state.
The song was already banned in Hong Kong schools as part of China's national security law in 2020. That gave Beijing greater power to tighten the control of the region.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese pushing back against China today. That's after Beijing blamed Australia for a dangerous clash between troops in international airspace.
The explanation given overnight by Chinese authorities does not satisfy any change to the position that we've taken.
A Chinese warplane used flares against an Australian Navy helicopter in international airspace over the Yellow Sea on Saturday. The Yellow Sea lies between China and the Korean Peninsula.
Flares can damage a helicopter's rotor blades or engines, leading to the downing of the aircraft. The clash is the most serious encounter between the two nations' militaries since last November.
Albanese stated that the Australian troops were carrying out missions to enforce UN sanctions against North Korea. Beijing said the helicopter flew deliberately close to China's airspace in a provocative move.
Albanese rejected that argument and called China's response unprofessional and unacceptable. Albanese added he will raise the disagreement with China's premier when he visits Australia next month.
Coming up, an elite French counterterrorism unit prepares for the Summer Olympics in Paris. They're training for worst-case scenarios amid geopolitical instability.
And NTD wins an award for Best Screenplay at the 15th Annual LA Web Fest in Hollywood. NTD's Ruby Lovell was at the event.
A performance that truly matters. For each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. Coming to Lincoln Center, NJ Pack, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Starting March 28th. Tickets at shenyun.com.
This is it. The culmination of everything our young athlete has worked for these past months. He's filled with determination. You can see it in his face. Is today the day he overcomes? And here we go. There is no defense in the world that will keep him at bay. He's on fire. Nothing can stop him. Watch him as he heads towards the goal. Oh, he's rock hard. But that doesn't stop him. He's a warrior. He's back up. His eyes are on the goal. He's set up for the shot. He shoots. Goal!
Achieving goals like this is only possible with the monthly support of people just like you.
Please call the number on your screen right now and give your monthly support to Shriners Hospitals for Children so other children can reach their goals too.
If you give just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we will send you your very own Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of the love you're giving us. Because of monthly support of people like you, nothing is stopping me from achieving my goals.
And here we go. There is no defense in the world that will keep him at bay. He's going left. Oh, he fakes right and continues. Look at those moves. He takes the shot. Goal! Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to give right away. Your monthly gift helps kids achieve their goals. Goal!
These are all farmers. Maybe
no,
not this
not
one.
a farm anymore.
But here's a farm, right?
No, there's also not a farm anymore.
All these people shut down because of the government policies?
Yeah.
The government wants to control the food. So we don't eat meat, but we eat insects.
As the price of staples goes through the roof, people will say, I can't afford a steak anymore. So, all right, I'll eat your stupid crickets.
For the day's top headlines and the news you need to know, tune in right here to NTD Evening News.
Paris has been on high alert since the 2015 terror attacks that killed 130 people and injured hundreds more. Now the 2024 Olympics, and particularly the opening ceremony, represent a significant security challenge for the French capital. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
An elite French counterterrorism unit breached this abandoned office building on the outskirts of Paris. The training exercise was held last month in preparation for a worst-case scenario at the Summer Olympics.
The Olympic Games are already the biggest media event in the world, and it only happens once every 4 years. There is a particular geopolitical context that I don't need to mention, and it is the biggest event, and it is the first time where thousands of GIGN soldiers will be mobilized without there being any rest.
Founded 50 years ago after the 1972 Munich Olympics massacre, the GIGN is one of France's elite tactical units. It's responsible for freeing hostages, counterterrorism operations, and other high-risk raids.
This type of exercise for us, what we want to work on, are attacks in environments that are big, with a significant number of people involved, hostages, even terrorists. So for us, the very important point of the mission is to practice on an attack that is swift and forceful, to neutralize the terrorists as quickly as possible, and above all, to preserve as many lives as possible.
The unit hopes fans can celebrate the games without incident.
I wanted to tell them that it's going to be a great event, that you shouldn't be afraid to come to France, that while zero risk obviously doesn't exist, and it would be dishonest to say that there is no risk, it is minimized as much as possible. So we will have a great games, it will be a great event.
The GIGN will assign 350 officers to the opening ceremony, with 2 plainclothes officers on each of the barges carrying athletes. Sharpshooters will be installed on the roofs of the buildings that line the Seine, with forces deployed below on the city streets. In all, around 50,000 French police and soldiers will secure Paris during the Games. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
An NTD original series just took home a prize at the 15th annual LA Web Fest. The TV drama series Dream of the Zelkova Tree won the award for Best Screenplay over the weekend. NTD's Ruby Lovell was at the festival. Let's take a look.
I'm at the 15th annual LA Web Fest Festival that focuses and showcases amazing, explosive new talent in the web series format. There are various categories for best short film, TV series, web series, pilots, podcasts, they're all recognized. This festival has the best of international talent. Started in 2009 as the first ever festival, this has now grown to one of the biggest film festivals, celebrating and supporting and nurturing new talent.
This is like a new media, a new wave style of a film festival. We are discover talent, like creator, also actor, actress, producer, independent, right, filmmakers. And then, we're going to celebrate many things. And then we're going to give out a lot of awards tonight, about 40 categories.
So I'm here with Wendy and her daughter Alexa. Congratulations, you're nominated for Best Actress for Luna the Witch.
It's a web series. We have 3 seasons so far. It's like a family-friendly sci-fi fantasy about, I play a witch who's not very good at being a witch, and she accidentally blows up the boy that she liked.
James Pax, how are you?
Thank you, I'm flattered, yes. Very well, very well.
You have had a very accomplished career. Big Trouble in Little China, we all love that movie. Tell us about what brought you into that entertainment industry and what is your passion for it?
Well, you know, the passion started when I was very young. And then in the early 90s, I decided to expand myself to Asia. Starting in Hong Kong, I did a movie with Michelle Yeoh, you know, the Academy Award winner. We've been good friends for 30-something years.
We have 2 nominations, Best Drama Series, and I have a Best Supporting Actress nomination. It is a real-life drama series that centers on the stories of nurses, and it really shines a spotlight on what nurses go through on a day-to-day basis.
And the award for Best Screenplay goes to Dream of the Zelkova Tree.
꿈이 뭐였어? 꿈? 사진작가가 되고 싶었어.
Thank you so much to the LA Web Fest, also to the director who's done a fantastic job to nurture and support new explosive talent. I received this on behalf of our network, NTD TV, who could not be here. This is an NTD Korea production about a sweet story about a mother and her daughter and a relationship between them. Fantastic. We are so proud and so thankful for this award. Thank you. The cast and crew are very, very grateful, and I thank you very much for this.
Congratulations to NTD Original, NTD Korea production for Dream of the Zelkova Tree. This is Best Screenplay for the whole of this amazing LA Web Fest. This has been Ruby Lovell, NTD in Hollywood.
Okay, and next, some breaking news. We are tuning into President Biden's live remarks on his Investing in America agenda in Racine, Wisconsin, which of course is a key battleground state. Let's tune in.
A great set of labor organizations can forge the kind of partnership that will create the jobs and opportunity for the people, not just of today, but for the future. And then I just want to say, it starts at the local level. Mount Pleasant, what an extraordinary place. When I look at Dave DeGroot, the village president, when I see the county executive for Racine, for the mayor of Racine, Governor Evers, from his first meeting with me, to do the things that needed to be done to make this happen. But I want you to know something else, because I think it's especially fitting on a day like today. Everything that we are doing here in Racine County, Wisconsin, is also benefiting directly from the work of this White House and this president over the last 4 years. Every day you see the news of the day, but what really matters is the work over a number of years. And in 2021, this president sat down across the aisle and persuaded our Congress to pass a bipartisan infrastructure law, a bipartisan infrastructure law that is investing in the roads and bridges that are needed to bring the steel to this plant, that have injected more than $1 billion into a cause in which we've long believed bringing broadband connectivity to everyone in the state of Wisconsin. That's a part of this. And then again in 2022, it took people coming together in Washington to pass the Chips and Science Act, because believe me, a data center without chips doesn't do very much for anybody. And again in 2022, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, it became possible to aim higher to achieve the climate and energy goals that also are indispensable to what we need to do as a company and all of us need to do as a community right here. And then last year in 2023, this White House, this administration, and this president really led the tech sector and the country and even the world to recognize how much AI was changing the world, but that we need to ensure that it's safe, that it's secure, that it's used responsibly. And they brought people together so we could move fast to do precisely that. And finally, every day since the first day of the inauguration in 2021, I just have to say, as someone who spends part of every single day working on and worrying about the cybersecurity protection of our customers in this nation, no administration has done as much as this administration to protect the cybersecurity of our communities and our country as a whole. It takes all kinds of people that find a way to get things done. And as I introduce the person who will introduce the president, the person who is doing the recruiting to bring in the people that will build the building, that will house the technology, that will serve the world, Nick Fick, who comes from the IBEW right here in Racine. Let me leave you with one final thought. I hope that with everything else that's going on in the world today, people here in Wisconsin and people across the country will just take a moment to remember this. This day shows something important. It shows that America remains what it has always been. We are a country where people come together, where people work together, where they address hard challenges, and we get great things done. We won't let you down. Please welcome Nick Fick.
Great job. Great job. Oh, man. Thank you. Wow. That's going to be a tough act to follow there. It's good to see all you friendly faces in the crowd today. Good morning. My name is Nick Fick. I'm a proud 23-year member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 430 in Racine, Wisconsin. Thank you. I was born and raised here, but a few years after I completed my apprenticeship, the contractor I was working for had to explore all options due to lack of work in the area. I traveled the country for them, then came back home to start a family. In 2017, good news about local economic development was hard to come by. When plans were announced for a new high-tech manufacturing complex in Racine, it could not have come at a better time. Unfortunately, we all know what happened next. After all that hype and all that hope, the promises made by Donald Trump failed to come true in Racine County. But now our luck has changed. Microsoft plans to spend billions of dollars to build data centers on the same property Foxconn has abandoned. Now Local 430 members are installing temporary power and lighting along with the preliminary underground work needed. And this is just the start. They are calling this site Microsoft's crown jewel, the biggest footprint of any Microsoft facility in the world. That means long-term work for hundreds of skilled, professional IBEW electricians for 10 to 15 years. Now, I have the good fortune to have the job here at home organizing electricians into the IBEW. Thank you. Thanks to Joe Biden, advanced manufacturing jobs are coming back to America and back to our hometown. We are grateful to Microsoft for investing in America and here in Mount Pleasant.
Biden yet to speak there, but for round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
And be sure to stick around for NTD Newsroom at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll cover more stories from the U.S. and around the world.
A faith rich in beauty and tradition, uplifting the mind and body, persevering through decades of persecution. Watch our special coverage of the 2024 World Falun Dafa Day Parade live from New York City, starting 11 a.m. Eastern Time, here on NTD.